Hi everyone. Great to have you here at Super Harry. Get comfortable because today we're presenting What If Goblin Cursebreaker examined Harry's scar at age 7 and discovered 27 soul anchors placed by 2 wizards. Before we start, a gentle reminder, if you love stories like this, please like and subscribe. It helps the algorithm show our videos to more people. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. Chapter 1, The Cursed Scar. Harry Potter huddled against the brick wall of St. Gregory's primary school, his too large uniform flapping in the October wind. Dudley and his gang circled like sharks, their faces twisted with the particular joy only bullies know. Nowhere to run now, freak, Dudley sneered, cracking his knuckles. Harry's heart hammered in his chest. Not again. Not today. The bruises from yesterday hadn't even faded yet. Just leave me alone, Harry said, his voice barely audible. Piers Polkiss shoved him hard. What was that, Potter? Couldn't hear your freakish little voice. They laughed, closing in. Harry felt that familiar pressure building inside him, like a balloon expanding in his chest, stretching and stretching until, I said leave me alone. The pressure exploded outward. A shockwave of raw magic rippled from Harry's small body, knocking all 5 boys off their feet. The brick wall behind him cracked in a perfect spiderweb pattern. Windows throughout the school shattered simultaneously. Harry stood frozen, horror replacing fear. What had he done? Miles away, deep beneath London, alarms blared through the marble halls of Gringotts Bank. Silveraxe wasn't having a good day even before the alarms went off. Explain to me why you've misplaced a Babylonian ward stone, Clearthorn, he growled at the younger goblin, who was frantically searching through scrolls. That artifact is, a piercing wail cut through the curse-breaking department. Silveraxe's ears perked up immediately. Magical disturbance detected, announced the monitoring crystal. Class 4 energy spike in Muggle territory. Signature matches forbidden pattern Theta. The department froze. Pattern Theta meant soul magic, the darkest kind. Location? Silveraxe barked. Surrey. Little whinging. Silveraxe's eyes narrowed. That area sounded familiar. He grabbed his curse-breaking kit and barked orders. Clearthorn, alert Director Ragnarok. Sharp Fong, prepare a team for backup but stay on standby. I'll investigate first. Moments later, Silveraxe appeared with a crack in an alley near St. Gregory's primary. The residual magic hung thick in the air, he could taste it, wild and powerful with an unmistakable taint of soul energy. Disillusioned, he followed the magical trail to its source. What he found made his blood run cold. A skinny boy with broken glasses sat in the headmaster's office while adults argued around him. Blood trickled from the lightning-shaped scar on his forehead. Harry Potter. The boy who lived. Silveraxe had found the source of pattern Theta. And it was bleeding from the most famous scar in the wizarding world. I don't care what kind of explanation you have, Mr. Potter. This destruction cannot go unpunished. Headmaster Remmel's face had turned an impressive shade of puce as he gestured at the broken windows. Harry stared at his shoes. I didn't mean to, sir. Things don't just explode, young man. Harry's shoulders hunched further. I know, sir. The phone rang, and the headmaster snatched it up. Remmel speaking. His expression darkened. Yes, Mrs. Dursley, I understand completely. Yes, we've called in a specialist. No, I assure you your son is fine. Of course, his account has been noted. Harry's stomach twisted. Aunt Petunia on the phone meant Uncle Vernon would be waiting when he got home. That meant the cupboard. For days, probably. A specialist is coming to evaluate you, the headmaster said after hanging up. Probably a psychiatrist. Normal children don't cause explosions, Potter. Harry nodded miserably. His scar throbbed painfully, something that happened whenever these strange incidents occurred. The door opened, and Harry expected to see the school nurse. Instead, A short man with long, grayish hair tied back in a ponytail entered. He wore an impeccable suit that somehow didn't quite look right, like someone had described a suit to him and he'd made his best approximation. Griphook Silver Axe, Special Educational Assessor, the man said briskly. I need to speak with Mr. Potter alone. Something about the man's sharp teeth and penetrating gaze made the headmaster stammer his agreement and leave the room hastily. When the door closed, the strange man studied Harry with unnerving intensity. Mr. Potter, he said, his voice now rougher and less human-sounding. Do you know what you are? Harry blinked. A freak? The man, Silver Axe, hissed angrily. Who told you that? My uncle and aunt. They say that's why weird things happen around me. Silver Axe pulled a chair close to Harry. You are a wizard, Mr. Potter. A rather powerful one, judging by today's events. Harry stared. That's not funny. I assure you, I rarely joke. Silver Axe pulled out what looked like a golden compass. This confirms it. You've performed accidental magic, quite spectacular magic, at that. Magic isn't real, Harry recited automatically, remembering Uncle Vernon's most frequent lecture. Then how do you explain this? With a snap of Silver Axe's fingers, the broken glass from the windows rose into the air and reassembled itself perfectly. Harry's mouth fell open. You're like me. No, Silver Axe said, revealing pointed teeth in what might have been a smile. I'm a goblin. We have different magic. But in the wizarding world, we manage the bank, Gringotts, and specialize in certain magics. Goblins? Wizarding world? Harry's head spun. Your parents were magical too, Silver Axe continued, watching Harry closely. I suspect no one's told you that. My parents died in a car crash, Harry said automatically. They were drunks. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Silver Axe's face hardened into something truly frightening. Lily and James Potter were murdered defending you from a dark wizard. They were heroes. His voice was cold steel. Someone has lied to you, Mr. Potter, and I'm beginning to suspect there's more wrong here than I initially thought. The goblin reached forward. May I examine your scar? It's bleeding, which is concerning. Harry hesitated, then nodded. The strange man's fingers were cool against his forehead. The moment Silver Axe touched the scar, the goblin jerked back as if burned. Impossible, he whispered, actual fear crossing his features. This changes everything. He pulled out a small crystal and pressed it to Harry's scar, muttering in a harsh language. The crystal glowed red, then black, then a sickly purple before exploding into dust. Silver Axe stood abruptly. We need to get you to Gringotts immediately. Your life is in danger. But, school, my aunt and uncle, will not be informed, Silver Axe said firmly. Mr. Potter, I've detected multiple soul fragments embedded in your scar, a type of dark magic that should be impossible. We need to contain this before it spreads. Soul fragments? Harry repeated weakly. Parts of someone else living inside you, Silver Axe explained grimly. And based on these readings, they belong to more than one person. Harry felt dizzy. Inside me? Like, possessing me? Not quite. More like, anchors. Tethering other souls to this world through you. Silver Axe's expression grew even more troubled. It's unprecedented. And if I'm right about whose souls these are, we need to move now. Harry hesitated for only a moment. Every instinct told him to trust this strange creature. Anything was better than going back to the Dursleys. What do I need to do? Take my hand. And brace yourself, goblin transportation isn't pleasant the first time. Harry grasped the goblin's surprisingly strong hand, and the world compressed around him. The last thing he saw was the headmaster opening the door before everything vanished in a swirl of magic. Gringotts Bank looked nothing like Harry had imagined a bank would. Towering marble columns, strange creatures carrying piles of gold, and glowing symbols carved into the floors. And the goblins, dozens of them, all staring at him as Silver Axe rushed him through the grand hall. "Director Ragnarok is waiting," Silver Axe told a guard, who nodded and opened a golden door. They descended through winding passages until they reached a chamber deep underground. The walls glittered with embedded crystals, and a circle of strange symbols had been carved into the floor. An older goblin with a magnificent silver beard waited there, flanked by others in what looked like armor. "So this is Potter," the older goblin said, studying Harry. "You're certain, Silver Axe?" "The crystal confirmed it, Director. Multiple soul anchors. And the magical signature." Silver Axe lowered his voice. "Two distinct signatures. One is undoubtedly you-know-who. And the other?" Director Ragnarok asked. Silver Axe hesitated. "Albus Dumbledore." The room erupted in goblin language. Harry caught none of it, but the tone needed no translation: shock, anger, disbelief. "Excuse me," Harry interrupted timidly, "but who's Albus Dumbledore?" "And you know who, do you mean Voldemort?" The goblins flinched at the name, but Ragnarok stepped forward. "Albus Dumbledore is considered the greatest wizard of the modern era, headmaster of Hogwarts School, and supposedly, your magical guardian." Ragnarok's eyes narrowed. "As for the other, yes, Lord Voldemort. The dark wizard who murdered your parents and tried to kill you." Harry tried to process this. "And they're both, inside me?" "Parts of them." "It appears so," Silver Axe confirmed. "We need to scan you properly to understand the extent." Ragnarok nodded. "The ritual chamber is prepared. Mr. Potter, we need your consent. This will be uncomfortable, but we must know what we're dealing with." Harry looked at the stone circle, the serious faces of the goblins. Fear fluttered in his chest, but curiosity pushed it aside. "If there's something wrong with me, I want it fixed. Do what you need to do." Silver Axe led Harry to the center of the circle. "Remove your shirt. We need to check if the anchors extend beyond the scar." Harry complied, revealing a thin frame with visible ribs and scattered bruises in various stages of healing. The goblins exchanged dark looks. "Those injuries," Silver Axe said carefully. "How did you get them?" Harry looked away. "Just, playing. With my cousin." "Truth is sacred in ritual spaces," Ragnarok said. "Lies could corrupt the results." Harry swallowed hard. "My uncle. And my cousin. They don't like me very much." "These humans hurt you regularly?" Silver Axe asked, voice dangerously soft. Harry nodded, shame burning his cheeks. "This changes things," Ragnarok declared. "Abuse of a magical child activates certain provisions." Silver Axe, proceed with the scan. "We'll address the guardianship issue after." Silver Axe positioned Harry carefully, then joined 6 other goblins around the circle. They began chanting, their voices weaving together in harmony. The symbols on the floor illuminated one by one, until Harry stood in a circle of golden light. Something warm and tingly washed over him, like standing in gentle rain. Then the sensation changed, probing, searching, pushing against his scar. The pain built rapidly. Harry gasped as his scar split open. Not blood but a black, oily substance began to seep out. The chanting intensified. Harry's vision blurred, pain radiating from his forehead. He wanted to scream but couldn't move. Above him, a three-dimensional image formed, a glowing representation of his body. His scar pulsed with dark energy. From it extended tendrils throughout his magical core. 27 distinct nodes appeared, each a different color, some black, others a bright blue. 27 anchors, Silver Axe breathed. 16 from Dumbledore, 11 from Voldemort. "Impossible," another goblin whispered. "No wizard could survive that many soul attachments." The configurations. Ragnarok studied the floating diagram. "These aren't traditional Horcruxes. There's something else, more controlled, more intentional. Harry struggled to understand through the pain. What does it mean? Silverax's face was grim. It means, Mr. Potter, that two of the most powerful wizards in history have been using you as their personal soul repository. For very different purposes, I suspect. Can you remove them? Harry asked weakly. Yes, Ragnarok said. But it will take time. Each anchor must be carefully extracted. And there will be side effects. What kind of side effects? Silverax hesitated. Soul fragments carry memories, knowledge, power. As we remove them, you may gain access to that information. You mean? I'll remember things they remember. Know what they know. Possibly, Ragnarok confirmed. Which is why we must proceed carefully. The knowledge of Albus Dumbledore and Lord Voldemort would be formidable for anyone, let alone a child. The ritual ended, and Harry collapsed to his knees, suddenly exhausted. Silverax helped him to a bench along the wall. Rest now, the goblin said. We have much to discuss when you've recovered. Harry nodded weakly, his mind racing. Soul fragments. 2 wizards. His scar. It was overwhelming, but one thought crystallized through his exhaustion. These fragments explained everything, the whispers he sometimes heard, the knowledge he shouldn't have, the dreams of green light. For the first time in his life, Harry Potter didn't feel like a freak. Just a boy who'd been used. And that, somehow, was worse. Harry woke in a comfortable room he didn't recognize. The bed was softer than anything he'd ever slept on, the ceiling high and domed with crystals that gave off gentle light. You're awake. Good. Silverax entered, carrying a tray of food. You've been asleep for nearly 16 hours. Harry sat up, surprised to find himself wearing soft pajamas. Where am I? Guest quarters within Gringotts. Few humans have seen them. Silverax set down the tray. Eat. We have much to discuss. The food smelled amazing, soup, bread, and what looked like roast chicken. Harry realized he was starving. While you slept, Silverax continued, we reviewed our findings and consulted our oldest records. What we found is disturbing. Harry paused, spoon halfway to his mouth. Tell me. All of it. Silverax nodded approvingly. Directly, then. The soul anchors were placed deliberately, over time. Voldemort's first, when he attacked you as an infant. The killing curse rebounded, shattering his soul further, and a piece attached to you. But you said there are 11 pieces from him? Yes. We believe he tracked you during your early childhood, adding more fragments remotely through magical means. Each designed to influence you in different ways, your temperament, magical abilities, even your physical development. Harry felt sick. And Dumbledore? Silverax's expression darkened. Even more methodical. His first anchor was placed shortly after Voldemort's attack. Then more, approximately every 6 months. His anchors are more refined, targeting specific aspects of your development. But why? Harry asked, pushing away the tray. Why would they do this? Control, Ragnarok said, entering the room. From what we've deduced, Voldemort was creating a magical connection, perhaps hoping to possess you eventually or use you as a vessel for his return. Dumbledore's motivations appear more complex. The anchors suggest he was shaping you, Silverax explained. Steering your magical development, your personality, even your moral framework. Creating a specific type of wizard for a specific purpose. Harry stared at his hands. What purpose? That, said Ragnarok, is what we need to discover. But first, we must deal with more immediate concerns. Your guardianship, for one. My aunt and uncle are unfit, Silverax interrupted firmly. Even disregarding the physical abuse, they've neglected you magically and emotionally. Under Goblin law, which supersedes wizarding law in matters of inheritance and associated protections, we can remove you from their care. Hope flared in Harry's chest. You can. But where would I go? That's being arranged, Ragnarok said. Your godfather, Sirius Black, was imprisoned without trial after your parents' deaths. Evidence suggests he may be innocent. We're investigating. In the meantime, Silver Axe added, you'll remain here under goblin protection while we begin removing the anchors. Harry took a deep breath. When do we start? Tonight, Ragnarok said. We'll remove one anchor, the weakest, to assess the process and effects. A knock interrupted them. A goblin guard entered. Director, Albus Dumbledore is in the main hall, demanding to see you. He says it concerns Harry Potter. Harry froze. Ragnarok and Silver Axe exchanged looks. He knows, Silver Axe said. The anchors must have alerted him when we scanned them. Prepare Mr. Potter, Ragnarok ordered. I'll delay Dumbledore. After Ragnarok left, Harry turned to Silver Axe. He's coming for me, isn't he? Yes, the goblin confirmed. But Gringotts has its own magic and laws. He cannot simply take you. But I have to face him, don't I? See what he says. Silver Axe studied Harry. It would be informative to hear his explanation. But you needn't do this alone. I want to, Harry said, surprised by his own determination. I want to look him in the eye when he lies to me. The goblin's smile showed all his pointed teeth. You have spirit, Harry Potter. Very well. But first, you should know your rights. For the next 20 minutes, Silver Axe briefed Harry on goblin law, wizard-goblin treaties, and his status as both the boy who lived and the Potter heir. By the time they headed to the meeting room, Harry felt nervous but prepared. The man waiting there wasn't what Harry expected. Old, yes, with a long silver beard and half-moon glasses. But the twinkling blue eyes and grandfatherly smile seemed at odds with someone who'd placed soul fragments in a baby. Harry, my dear boy, Dumbledore said warmly. What a relief to find you safe. When you disappeared from school, I was terribly worried. Harry didn't return the smile. Were you, Professor Dumbledore? That's strange, since you've never visited me before. Dumbledore's smile faltered slightly. There were protections in place, Harry. I've watched over you from afar. Like the protection from my uncle's belt? Harry asked coldly. Or my cousin's Harry hunting games? The twinkle vanished from Dumbledore's eyes. I was unaware of mistreatment. The blood wards were compromised, Silver Axe interrupted, by the soul anchors you placed in the boy. Dumbledore went very still. I'm afraid I don't know what you're talking about. Don't insult our intelligence, Ragnarok said sharply. We've identified 27 distinct soul anchors in Mr. Potter. 16 bear your magical signature. That's impossible, Dumbledore said, but Harry noticed a slight tremor in his hand. We can show you the scan results, Silver Axe offered with mock politeness. Dumbledore's expression shifted subtly. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. These matters are complex, and a child, no, Harry interrupted. No more secrets about me, without me. Harry, Dumbledore said gently, there are things you cannot possibly understand at your age. Burdens I've tried to spare you. By putting pieces of your soul in me? Harry asked incredulously. How does that spare me anything? A flash of genuine sadness crossed Dumbledore's face. It's not what you think, Harry. The anchors were protective measures, guides to help shape your magic safely. Guides don't need soul fragments, Ragnarok said. What you've done is unprecedented and illegal under both goblin and wizard law. Dumbledore straightened, his demeanor changing. The grandfatherly facade slipped, revealing something harder beneath. I am Harry's magical guardian. I've acted in his best interests, as I've always done. Whatever you believe you found, I assure you there's an explanation. Then explain, Harry challenged. Why do I have your soul fragments in my scar alongside Voldemort's? Dumbledore flinched at the name. It's complicated, Harry. Lord Voldemort transferred a piece of himself to you that night. What I did was contain it, using, yes, pieces of my own magical essence. To counterbalance the darkness, to ensure you'd grow up with the capacity for love and sacrifice that you'll need. Need for what? Harry pressed. To fulfill your destiny, Dumbledore said gravely. The prophecy states, enough, Ragnarok interrupted. You admit to the soul magic. That's all we require. You overstep your authority, Dumbledore said coldly. Harry must return with me for his own safety. Actually, Silver Axe said, sliding a document forward, under the Treaty of 1612, Section 27, magical children found to bear soul contamination fall under Goblin protection until the contamination is removed. By your own admission, you placed these anchors. Harry stays. Dumbledore's magic flared visibly, causing the papers on the table to rustle. This is outrageous. The boy belongs at his relative's home, where the blood wards protect him. Blood wards created by my mother's sacrifice, Harry said, remembering something he'd heard in a dream once. Not by you. Dumbledore looked at Harry sharply. How do you know about that? Perhaps, Silver Axe suggested, the anchors work both ways. Perhaps Harry accesses your knowledge as much as you influence him. For the first time, Dumbledore looked genuinely alarmed. Harry, he said urgently, you must understand. Everything I've done has been to prepare you. Voldemort isn't gone. He will return. And when he does, you must be ready. I'll get ready my way, Harry said firmly. Without pieces of you or him inside me. You don't understand the consequences, Dumbledore warned. Removing those anchors could release knowledge, magic, darkness you're not prepared for. Then I'll deal with it, Harry said. But they're coming out. Dumbledore stood, suddenly imposing despite his age. I cannot allow this. You have no choice, Ragnarok said. The law is clear. Laws can be changed, Dumbledore said softly. The Ministry would be very interested to learn that Gringotts is holding the boy who lived against his guardian's wishes. I'm not being held, Harry said. I want to stay. You're 7, Harry. You cannot make such decisions. Actually, Silver Axe interjected, given the evidence of guardian neglect and magical interference, Mr. Potter has been granted provisional adult status in Goblin courts for the purposes of medical decisions regarding the anchors. Dumbledore's face hardened. This isn't over. I'll return with Ministry officials. By all means, Ragnarok said pleasantly. We'll be happy to explain exactly what we found in young Mr. Potter's scar. I wonder how the wizarding public would react to learning their hero, Albus Dumbledore, practices soul magic on children. The implied threat hung in the air. Dumbledore stared at Ragnarok, then at Harry. Harry, he said softly, I've only ever wanted what's best for you. Then let me decide what that is, Harry replied. After Dumbledore left, Harry collapsed in his chair, suddenly drained. You did well, Silver Axe said approvingly. Not many stand up to Albus Dumbledore. He'll be back, Ragnarok warned. With reinforcements. Then we'd better work quickly, Harry said. When can we remove the first anchor? The ritual chamber looked different at night. The crystals glowed brighter, casting long shadows. Goblin runemasters had spent hours preparing the circle, drawing complex symbols in silver and gold powder. This will hurt, Silver Axe warned as Harry lay in the center. The first anchor we're targeting is one of Dumbledore's, a small fragment attached to your language center. What will happen when it's gone? Harry asked nervously. We can't be certain, Ragnarok admitted. Based on its placement, you may experience new linguistic abilities or memories associated with language. Harry nodded, steeling himself. I'm ready. 7 goblins took positions around the circle. They began a low, rhythmic chant, building slowly in volume and complexity. The runes ignited one by one, forming a web of light that stretched toward Harry. When the light touched his scar, pain exploded through his head. Harry bit back a scream as something writhed beneath his skin. The chanting intensified, and Harry felt a tugging sensation, like something sticky being pulled slowly from his mind. Images flashed behind his eyes, a younger Dumbledore studying ancient texts, practicing phrases in languages Harry didn't recognize, conversations with people long dead. With a final surge of magic, something tore free. Harry watched through tear-blurred eyes as a small blue orb floated above him, pulsing gently before the goblins captured it in a crystal container. The pain vanished instantly. In its place came a rush of knowledge, words, phrases, entire languages pouring into his consciousness. "Harry?" Silverax asked, approaching cautiously. "Can you understand me?" "Yes," Harry replied automatically, then realized he'd answered in perfect gobbledygook. Startled, he switched to English. "I can speak Goblin language now." A side effect of removing Dumbledore's anchor, Ragnarok explained. "It seems his knowledge of our tongue transferred to you." "Not just gobbledygook," Harry said excitedly. "French, German, Latin. I know them all now." "Fascinating," Silverax murmured. Dumbledore's linguistic knowledge but without his memories of acquiring it. The anchor transferred the abilities but not the experiences. "How do you feel otherwise?" Ragnarok asked. Harry considered the question. "Lighter somehow. Like something that was pressing on my mind is gone." "That's one down, 26 to go," Silverax said. "But we should proceed carefully, one anchor per day, at most. Your mind and magic need time to adjust between extractions." As they left the ritual chamber, a young witch with bright pink hair approached, looking nervous. "Director Ragnarok," she said. "I've got those security reports you requested. And, the ministry transfer paperwork." "Ah, excellent. Harry, this is Nymphadora Tonks. She works part-time with our security division while completing Auror training." "Don't call me Nymphadora," she said automatically, then smiled at Harry. "Just Tonks is fine." "Tonks will be part of your security detail," Silverax explained. "As a ministry trainee with Goblin employment, she has unique legal status that will help protect you from both Dumbledore and the ministry itself." Tonks studied Harry curiously. "So you're the kid causing all the fuss. Half the ministry's talking about how Dumbledore claims the goblins kidnapped you." "They didn't kidnap me," Harry said firmly. "They saved me." Tonks nodded, her hair shifting from pink to purple. "Yeah, I gathered that from Silverax's report. Pretty messed up, what they found in your scar." Harry gaped at her changing hair. "How did you do that?" "Oh, I'm a metamorphmagus," Tonks said casually. "Can change my appearance at will. Dead useful for security work, let me tell you." "Ms. Tonks will help integrate you into Wizarding Society," Ragnarok explained. "You have much to learn, and quickly, if you're to navigate the political storm that's brewing." "Political storm?" "You're Harry Potter," Tonks said, as if that explained everything. "The boy who lived." Add in Dumbledore, soul magic and goblin involvement. "It's gonna be chaos when this gets out. But we control when and how it gets out," Silverax added. "Which gives us an advantage." Harry yawned suddenly, the ritual's exhaustion catching up to him. "Rest now," Ragnarok said. "Tomorrow, we begin your education in earnest, magical theory, wizarding politics, and goblin finance. You'll need all three to survive what's coming." As Harry fell asleep that night in his comfortable goblin quarters, he felt something he'd rarely experienced before, hope. For the first time in his life, people were helping him, protecting him, treating him like he mattered. Whatever soul fragments lurked inside him, whatever Dumbledore and Voldemort had planned, Harry made a promise to himself. He would get free of their influence. He would learn everything the goblins could teach him. And he would never, ever be anyone's puppet again. In his dreams, languages danced and wove together, gobbledygook, Latin, French, even Parseltongue, though he didn't yet recognize it as such. Knowledge that had been locked behind Dumbledore's anchor now flowed freely through his mind. Somewhere in Britain, Albus Dumbledore felt the severing of the connection and frowned into the darkness of his office. One anchor gone. The boy was slipping from his carefully crafted plan. And somewhere even darker, something stirred in response to the ritual's magic, fragments of a soul, scattered but aware, sensing change in their youngest piece. Voldemort's remaining consciousness turned its attention toward Gringotts, toward the boy who now held knowledge that didn't belong to him. The game had begun. Chapter 2, Breaking the Chains. Harry ducked the spell, rolling behind a stone pillar as the sizzling hex struck where he'd stood seconds before. 6 months of training had transformed the skinny, hesitant boy into something different, not larger, exactly, but more purposeful in his movements. "You're still telegraphing your dodges," Tonks called, her hair flashing combat red as she fired another jinx. "I can see where you're going before you move." Harry didn't waste breath responding. Instead, he tapped the floor with his practice wand, a training tool the goblins had provided, and whispered an incantation in gobbledygook. The stone beneath Tonks liquefied for just an instant before re-solidifying around her feet. "Bloody hell," she laughed, stuck in place. "That's goblin earth magic. Where'd you learn that?" Harry grinned, emerging from cover. "Silveraxe showed me yesterday. Said wizards never watch what's under their feet." "Sneaky little gremlin," Tonks muttered affectionately, freeing herself with a counter-spell. "And sneaky little you. 3 wins today, you're improving fast." Harry helped her gather the practice dummies they'd been using. "Not fast enough. The anchors are still giving me headaches." In the 6 months since discovering the soul fragments, Harry had undergone weekly rituals to remove them. 7 anchors had been extracted so far, all belonging to Dumbledore. Each removal brought new abilities, knowledge, and occasional bursts of magic that required careful control. "Silveraxe says we're tackling the first Voldemort anchor tonight," Harry said, trying to sound casual despite his nervousness. Tonks paused, her expression serious. "You sure you're ready? Dumbledore's fragments were one thing, but you know whose." "I have to be ready," Harry said simply. "Can't spend my life with pieces of him inside me, can I?" They climbed the spiraling stairs from the training arena to the upper levels of Gringotts. Harry had come to know the bank as home over the past months, its twisting corridors, hidden chambers, and the surprising warmth of the goblin living quarters. Most wizards never saw this side of Gringotts, the actual community behind the imposing facade. "Potter." Griphook called from a side passage. "Director Ragnarok wants you." "Ministry problems again." Harry sighed. "What now?" "Another welfare check demand," Griphook sneered. "3rd this month." "I'll clean up and meet you there," Harry told Tonks, who nodded and headed toward the conference room. In his quarters, a comfortable 3-room apartment deep within the residential section, Harry quickly showered and changed into what Silveraxe called his political armor, formal robes with subtle Potter family emblems and equally subtle goblin runes of protection woven into the fabric. As he dressed, Harry caught sight of himself in the mirror. Still small for his age, but no longer the malnourished waif who'd arrived 6 months ago. Regular meals and exercise had put some meat on his bones. The lightning scar remained, but it no longer looked angry and inflamed as it had before the anchor removals. Sometimes, examining his reflection, Harry didn't recognize himself, not physically, but in his eyes. Knowledge that wasn't his kept surfacing. Latin incantations he'd never studied. Political insights a 7-year-old shouldn't possess. Dumbledore's fragments were changing him in ways he couldn't always predict. Tonight would bring something different. Voldemort's first fragment, what would that unlock? "Absolutely not," Silveraxe said firmly to the ministry official sitting across the conference table. "Mr. Potter will not submit to questioning without his legal representative present." "This obstruction is becoming tiresome," said Dolores Umbridge, her simpering voice at odds with the cold look in her eyes. The ministry has legitimate concerns about the boy who lived being held by creatures. Harry, entering the room, cleared his throat loudly. I don't believe held is the correct term, Madam Umbridge. Protected would be more accurate. Umbridge's smile tightened. Mr. Potter. How delightful to see you, relatively well. Completely well, actually, Harry replied, taking a seat. Thanks to the excellent care I've received here. Yes, well. Umbridge shuffled her papers. The ministry requires proof of your well-being beyond these supervised visits. Headmaster Dumbledore has expressed grave concerns. Headmaster Dumbledore lost any claim to concern when he placed 16 soul anchors in my scar, Harry interrupted, watching her reaction carefully. Umbridge faltered slightly. Those allegations remain unproven. The Department of Mysteries has found no precedent for such magic. That's because it's unprecedented, Ragnarok said, entering with Tonks behind him. As we've stated in our previous 17 responses to ministry inquiries. Trainee Tonks, Umbridge acknowledged with distaste. Still playing security guard for the goblins, I see. Your superiors are most displeased with your divided loyalties. Tonks' hair rippled from pink to deep blue. My assignment was approved by Head Auror Scrimgeour himself, madam. As a liaison between Gringotts and the DMLE. An assignment that may soon be reconsidered, Umbridge threatened sweetly. Now, as to the matter at hand, the Wizengamot has authorized a formal examination of Mr. Potter by St. Mungo's healers. The Wizengamot has no jurisdiction here, Silverax reminded her. Mr. Potter's case falls under the Treaty of 1612, as we've established repeatedly. Treaties can be renegotiated, Umbridge said, her implication clear. Harry leaned forward. Madam Umbridge, let's be direct. I'm not being held against my will. I've chosen to stay under Goblin protection while they remove the soul anchors from my scar. Anchors placed by Dumbledore and Voldemort. Umbridge flinched at the name. You shouldn't, fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself, Harry said, then paused, surprised at himself. That hadn't felt like his own thought, it had the distinct flavor of Dumbledore's rhetoric, likely knowledge from one of the removed anchors. Ragnarok seized the opportunity. Perhaps we can reach a compromise. Mr. Potter will undergo an examination, but conducted jointly by a St. Mungo's healer and a Goblin healer, here at Gringotts. That's acceptable, Harry said before Umbridge could refuse. Umbridge glared but nodded stiffly. Very well. Tomorrow at noon. Now, if we've addressed the ministry's concerns, Silverax said, we have matters to attend to. After Umbridge left, Harry collapsed in his chair. She's horrible. She's Dumbledore's stalking horse, Ragnarok corrected. He's using ministry channels to pressure us while maintaining his benevolent public image. Speaking of pressure, Tonks said, I've got news from my mom. She's found something in the Black family records that might help with Sirius's case. Harry perked up immediately. Over the past months, they'd been gathering evidence to prove Sirius Black's innocence. As Harry's godfather and legal guardian, freeing him would solve many of their problems with the ministry. What did she find? Harry asked eagerly. Records of the Godfather ritual performed after you were born, Tonks explained. It includes a magical oath that would have killed Sirius if he betrayed your parents. Silverax looked impressed. That's compelling evidence. Combined with the lack of trial transcripts we've documented. It might be enough to force a hearing, Ragnarok finished. Ms. Tonks, please thank your mother for her assistance. She's happy to help, Tonks said. The Black family may be mostly nutters, but even they don't approve of chucking the heir to the most ancient and noble house of Black into Azkaban without a trial. Harry had learned much about wizarding politics and family structures over the past months. The complex web of relationships, alliances, and ancient grudges fascinated him, especially since, as the last Potter, he occupied an important position in that web. Now, Ragnarok said, turning to Harry, are you prepared for tonight's ritual? This will be significantly different from previous extractions. Harry nodded, hiding his nervousness. I'm ready. Not quite yet, Silveraxe said. First, we need to review what we know about this particular anchor. He unrolled a complex diagram on the table, a magical representation of Harry's scar and the anchors within it. 7 blue points had been removed, leaving 9 blue and 11 red remaining. This anchor, Silveraxe indicated one of the red points, is what we believe to be the original fragment, the one created unintentionally when Voldemort's killing curse rebounded. It's connected to your ability to speak Parseltongue. Harry blinked. I can speak to snakes. You haven't encountered any since arriving here, Ragnarok explained, but yes, the diagnostic spells indicate that ability. It likely remained dormant due to Dumbledore's suppressant anchors, specifically this one, which we removed last month. Harry remembered that ritual. Afterward, he'd experienced a surge of magical ability and strange dreams filled with hissing voices. What should I expect when it's removed? He asked. Pain, Silveraxe said bluntly. More than with Dumbledore's anchors. And likely memories, Voldemort's memories from around the time the fragment was created. The night my parents died, Harry said quietly. Silveraxe nodded grimly. Yes. Are you still willing to proceed? Harry didn't hesitate. Absolutely. The ritual chamber felt colder than usual as Harry lay in the center of the circle. Around him, Goblin runemasters prepared more elaborate protections than for previous rituals. Silveraxe personally checked each rune, his expression unusually tense. We've reinforced the containment spells, he told Harry. Voldemort's magic is corrupt. Aggressive. It may fight the extraction. Harry swallowed hard. Will it hurt more than the others? Silveraxe hesitated. Yes. But pain is temporary. Carrying his soul fragment is a far greater danger. Tonks stood just outside the ritual circle, her wand ready. I'll be right here, Harry. If anything goes wonky, I'm pulling you out, ritual be damned. Harry appreciated her presence. Over the months, Tonks had become something between a big sister and a cool aunt, teaching him not just offensive magic but wizard slang, jokes, and stories about Hogwarts that made him both excited and nervous about eventually attending. Begin, Ragnarok commanded, and the goblin chanters took their positions. The chanting started low and rhythmic, different from the previous rituals. These words sounded harsher, more commanding. The runes ignited one by one, their light a deep crimson rather than the usual gold. When the light touched Harry's scar, the pain was immediate and blinding. It felt like someone had driven a white-hot poker into his forehead. Harry arched off the floor, a scream tearing from his throat despite his determination to stay silent. Inside his mind, something ancient and malevolent stirred. It had been dormant, contained by Dumbledore's anchors, but now it sensed freedom, and fought to maintain its hold. It's resisting, a goblin runemaster shouted. Increase the binding power. The chanting grew louder, more forceful. Harry felt as if his skull might split open. Through the pain, images began flooding his consciousness, a moonlit street in Godric's Hollow. A cottage with smoke rising from the chimney. James Potter falling in a flash of green light. Lily Potter standing defiantly before a crib. Not Harry, please not Harry. A second flash of green. Then pain, unimaginable pain as a rebounding curse tore through him. Harry screamed again, but not in his voice, it was higher, colder, filled with rage and disbelief. It's awake. Silveraxe shouted. Contain it now. The ritual reached a crescendo. Harry felt something ripping away from his very being, tearing at the fabric of his mind as it was extracted. A swirling mass of red-black energy rose from his scar, writhing and hissing like a wounded snake. Goblin magic contained it, forcing the fragment into a specially prepared obsidian box. Even sealed, the box vibrated with malevolent energy. Harry collapsed, blood streaming from his scar. The pain receded slowly, replaced by a strange, hollow feeling, and an influx of memories and knowledge that weren't his own. Incantations for spells he'd never heard of. Faces of people long dead. A burning hatred for muggles and blood traders. And deeper, darker impulses that made him shudder. Harry. Tonks was beside him, her face pale with worry. "Can you hear me?" "Yes," Harry whispered, his throat raw from screaming. "I'm here." "How do you feel?" Silveraxe asked, approaching cautiously. Harry considered the question carefully. "Different. There's knowledge. Dark spells. Memories of people he killed." He shuddered again. "But it feels distant, like I'm watching it through a window." Ragnak nodded. "That's the difference between knowledge and experience. You have access to his memories but not his emotional connection to them." "Is that why I don't feel evil?" Harry asked hesitantly. "I can remember him killing my parents now, but I don't feel his enjoyment of it." The fragment contained knowledge and some personality aspects, but not his full consciousness or moral corruption, Silveraxe explained, looking relieved. "Our theory was correct." Tonks helped Harry sit up. "Can you stand?" Harry nodded, then immediately regretted it as dizziness swept through him. "Maybe not yet." "No matter," Ragnak said. "Rest here while we secure the fragment. This one cannot be studied like Dumbledore's, it's too volatile, too dangerous." "What will you do with it?" "Destroy it," Silveraxe said grimly. "Through goblin fire. It's one of the few things that can eliminate soul fragments permanently." As they prepared the destruction ritual, Harry closed his eyes, trying to sort through the new information in his mind. Voldemort's knowledge was vast but twisted, brilliant magic corrupted by hatred and ambition. Spells designed to cause pain, to control, to kill. History viewed through a lens of pure-blood superiority. Yet there was also raw magical theory that fascinated him, insights into how magic worked at its most fundamental level. Knowledge that could be valuable if separated from its dark intent. "You look troubled," Silveraxe observed, returning to Harry's side. "His knowledge," Harry said quietly. "Some of it, it's not all dark." Silveraxe nodded. "Even the most corrupt wizards may possess valuable insights. The challenge is discerning which knowledge to use and which to discard." "How do I know which is which?" "Intent," the goblin said simply. "Magic itself is neither dark nor light, it's the intent behind it that matters. A cutting charm can slice bread or sever an artery. The spell is the same, the purpose differs." Harry considered this. "So I can use his knowledge without becoming like him?" "With guidance," Silveraxe agreed. "We'll help you navigate this new terrain. But first, rest. Your mind needs time to integrate what you've gained, and lost." The next morning, Harry woke feeling strangely lighter. His headache was gone for the first time in months. When he looked in the mirror, his scar appeared less pronounced, the angry red fading to a lighter pink. He found Tonks waiting outside his quarters, reading the Daily Prophet with a scowl. "Bad news?" Harry asked. Tonks startled, her hair flashing yellow before settling back to pink. "Watch her, Harry. Sleep okay?" She hesitated, then handed him the newspaper. "You might as well see this." The headline made Harry's stomach clench. Dumbledore demands Wizengamot action on kidnapped boy. WHO lived special investigation. Harry Potter held by goblins, claims headmaster. Fantastic, Harry muttered, scanning the article. It portrayed Dumbledore as deeply concerned for Harry's welfare, claiming the goblins had manipulated a vulnerable child with outlandish claims, and were preventing proper magical education and care. "It gets worse," Tonks said, flipping to page 3. Fudge is backing him. A smaller article quoted the Minister for Magic expressing grave concerns and promising swift action to return Mr. Potter to proper wizarding custody. "They can't just take me, can they?" Harry asked. "The treaties," Politics sometimes trumps treaties, Tonks said grimly. Silveraxe and Ragnarok are in emergency meetings with the Goblin Council. There's talk of the Ministry sending orders. Harry felt a cold knot of fear. After 6 months of safety and progress, the idea of being forced back under Dumbledore's control terrified him. What can we do? For today. Keep your examination appointment and prove you're here willingly and being well treated, Tonks said practically. Long term. We need to accelerate the serious black evidence. If we can get your legal guardian freed and cleared, Dumbledore's claims become moot. Before Harry could respond, Griphook appeared in the corridor. Potter, Tonks, Director wants you both. Now. They found Ragnarok, Silveraxe, and several senior goblins in the strategy room. Maps of Gringotts covered the walls, with glowing points marking security positions. The situation has escalated, Ragnarok announced without preamble. Our sources in the Ministry indicate Dumbledore has convinced Fudge to authorize a welfare check, with Auror support, scheduled immediately after your medical examination today. They're planning to take me, Harry realized. Yes, Silveraxe confirmed. Once you're in the examination room with the St. Mungo's healer, they'll claim jurisdiction and attempt to remove you. I won't go, Harry said firmly. You won't have to, Ragnarok assured him. We've prepared for this possibility. Ms. Tonks, your role will be crucial. Tonks straightened, suddenly all business. What's the plan? You'll escort Harry and the healers to examination room 3, where we've installed certain protections. If the Aurors attempt to seize Harry, activate this. He handed her what looked like an ordinary goblin coin. Emergency port key, she guessed. Among other things, Silveraxe said with a grim smile. It will also seal the bank. Harry looked between them. Seal the bank? That sounds serious. It is, Ragnarok confirmed. Gringotts has defenses few wizards know about. If activated, no one enters or leaves without Goblin permission, and Ministry authority becomes null within our walls. Won't that cause an international incident? Harry asked, remembering political lessons from Dumbledore's anchors. Potentially, Ragnarok admitted. But the alternative is allowing you to be taken against your will, which violates multiple treaties. If forced to choose between diplomatic tensions and abandoning a child under our protection. He showed his sharp teeth. Well, diplomacy can be repaired. The loyalty behind those words touched Harry deeply. These creatures, whom wizards treated as barely better than clever animals, were willing to risk war to protect him. Thank you, he said simply. Silveraxe clasped his shoulder. Save your thanks for when this is over. For now, prepare for your examination. Remember, reveal the scar and the evidence of anchor removal, but volunteer nothing about what knowledge you've gained. Harry nodded, understanding the strategy. Show enough to prove their claims about the anchors, but not enough to reveal how much he'd changed. At precisely noon, St. Mungo's healer named Augustus Pye arrived at Gringotts, accompanied by Dolores Umbridge and 2 Aurors. Tonks met them in the lobby, her demeanor professionally neutral despite the tension. Trainee Tonks acknowledged the senior Auror, a grizzled man named Dawlish. Interesting assignment you've drawn. Senior Auror, Tonks replied with a crisp nod. Healer Pye, welcome to Gringotts. Rockjaw, our chief medical goblin, will be joining you for the examination. A goblin healer? Umbridge simpered. How unusual. The agreement was for a proper medical examination. Rockjaw trained at St. Mungo's 30 years ago, Tonks replied smoothly. His qualifications exceed most human healers. If you prefer to cancel the examination. That won't be necessary, Healer Pye interrupted, looking uncomfortable with Umbridge's attitude. I've collaborated with goblin healers before. Their diagnostic methods are quite impressive. Umbridge looked as though she'd bitten something sour but nodded stiffly. They proceeded to the examination room, where Harry waited with Silveraxe. Harry had dressed simply in trousers and a t-shirt to allow easy medical examination, but he'd also prepared himself mentally, reviewing what he could and couldn't reveal. "Mr. Potter," Healer Pi said warmly, approaching with a friendly smile. "How are you feeling today?" "Much better since the removal procedures began," Harry replied honestly. "Removal procedures?" Pi looked intrigued. "Perhaps you could explain what's been done so far." Before Harry could answer, Umbridge interrupted. "The purpose of this examination is to assess Mr. Potter's general health and well-being, not to entertain Goblin conspiracy theories." "With respect, Madam Umbridge," Pi said firmly, "as a healer, I need to understand any medical procedures Mr. Potter has undergone. It's directly relevant to my assessment." Umbridge subsided, though her expression remained sour. Rockjaw, the Goblin healer, entered and nodded to his human counterpart. "Healer Pi. Shall we proceed with standard diagnostics first?" The examination began with basic medical spells, checking Harry's vitals, magical core strength, physical development. Both healers looked impressed by the results. "Remarkable improvement from your last medical records," Pi commented. 6 months ago, you showed signs of long-term malnutrition and magical suppression. Now your core readings are above average for your age, and your physical health has normalized. That's what good food and not being locked in a cupboard will do," Harry said casually, watching Umbridge's reaction from the corner of his eye. She stiffened noticeably. "Cupboard?" Pi asked, frowning. "My bedroom at the Dursleys was the cupboard under the stairs," Harry clarified. "Until I came to Gringotts, I'd never had a proper bed." Pi made notes, his expression darkening. "I see. And these removal procedures you mentioned? Perhaps we should examine the scar," Rockjaw suggested. "That would provide the clearest evidence." Harry nodded and brushed his hair away from his forehead. Both healers leaned in to study the famous lightning bolt. "It's changing," Pi observed, casting a specialized diagnostic charm. "The magical signature is unlike anything I've seen." "We've removed 8 anchors so far," Harry explained. 7 from Dumbledore, 1 from Voldemort. Umbridge made a strangled sound at the name, but Pi was too focused to notice. "Anchors? You mean soul fragments?" "Yes," Rockjaw confirmed. 27 in total were identified. "I can show you our diagnostic results." He produced a crystal that projected the same diagram Silverax had shown Harry, a detailed map of the scar and its remaining anchors, color-coded by origin. Pi stared, fascinated and horrified. "This is unprecedented. Soul magic of this complexity." He turned to Harry. "And you can feel the difference after removals?" "Definitely," Harry said. "Each removal releases knowledge that was locked away, and my magic works better, more naturally." Pi cast several more diagnostic spells, comparing results with Rockjaw. "The evidence supports their claims," he finally announced, turning to Umbridge. "Mr. Potter did indeed have magical constructs embedded in his scar, and their removal appears to be beneficial to his health." Umbridge's smile became fixed. "While that's interesting, it doesn't address the matter of Mr. Potter's custody." "As a minor, my guardians neglected and abused me," Harry interrupted. "Under both wizarding and goblin law, that allows for intervention. The goblins have protected me when no one else did." "The boy makes a valid point," Pi said, reviewing his notes. "These medical results show clear signs of previous neglect. Ethically, I cannot recommend returning him to an abusive environment." Umbridge's face flushed an ugly pink. "The Ministry has concerns beyond mere medical matters. Security considerations are being addressed," Tonks interjected smoothly. "In fact, we've been gathering evidence regarding Mr. Potter's legal godfather, Sirius Black, which would resolve the guardianship question entirely." "Black?" Dawlish looked startled. "The mass murderer." "The never-convicted political prisoner," Tonks corrected. "Who, as the evidence shows, couldn't possibly have betrayed the Potters due to the magical godfather oath." This was news to Umbridge, who looked genuinely surprised. What evidence? Perhaps we should continue this discussion after concluding the medical examination, Rockjaw suggested. Healer Pi, did you want to check Mr. Potter's magical responsiveness? Pi nodded and raised his wand to cast another diagnostic spell. At that precise moment, the door burst open. 3 more Aurors entered, led by a stern-looking witch Harry didn't recognize. Amelia Bones, head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, she announced. I have orders to remove Harry Potter to Ministry custody pending a full investigation. Harry felt a surge of panic, quickly controlled. They'd prepared for this, but seeing it actually happen was still frightening. Tonks stepped forward. Madam Bones, with respect, this examination is still in progress, and the preliminary findings support Mr. Potter's claims regarding soul anchors and prior abuse. I have my orders, trainee, Bones said firmly, though Harry thought he detected reluctance in her tone. Minister Fudge has authorized this action personally, with Wizengamot approval. The Wizengamot has no jurisdiction here, Silveraxe reminded them. This is Goblin territory by treaty. Treaties have exceptions for criminal matters, Umbridge said sweetly. And kidnapping is certainly criminal. There's been no kidnapping, Harry said clearly. I'm here by choice. You're 7 years old, Bones said, not unkindly. The law doesn't recognize your capacity to make such choices without guardian approval. My relative signed custody transfer documents, Harry countered, using one of the contingency arguments they'd prepared. Forged or coerced, Umbridge dismissed. Harry could see the situation deteriorating rapidly. Tonks' hand had moved to her pocket where the emergency coin waited. Silveraxe stood tensed for action. Madam Bones, Harry said, trying a different approach. You have a reputation for fairness. Would you agree that evidence should be examined before judgment is rendered? Bones looked at him appraisingly. I would. Then consider this evidence, Harry said, pulling up his sleeve to reveal a line of faded bruises in the distinctive shape of finger marks. My uncle's farewell gift. And this, he turned to allow Pi to project the diagnostic image of the anchors. Soul fragments placed without consent or knowledge. And finally, this, he nodded to Tonks, who produced a sealed document. Certified copies of the Godfather ritual performed between Sirius Black and Harry Potter, she explained. Including the magical oath that would have killed Black had he betrayed the Potters. Bones took the document, breaking the seal to examine it. Her eyebrows rose incrementally as she read. This is significant. If authentic, it comes from the Black family records, Tonks said. My mother, Andromeda Tonks née Black, provided it. Nevertheless, Umbridge cut in, the minister's orders are clear. Mr. Potter is to be removed to ministry custody while these matters are investigated. Bones looked torn between duty and her evident sense of justice. I'm sorry, Mr. Potter. While this evidence warrants investigation, I must follow proper procedures. She nodded to her Aurors, who moved forward to take Harry. Tonks' hand closed around the goblin coin in her pocket. I really wish you hadn't done that, Madam Bones. She activated the coin. Instantly, alarms blared throughout Gringotts. Metal shutters slammed down over doors and windows. The floor beneath the Aurors softened momentarily, trapping their feet in stone as it rehardened. What is the meaning of this? Bones demanded, finding herself similarly trapped. Gringotts is now in lockdown, Silveraxe announced calmly. Under Article 7 of the Treaty of 1612, the bank may invoke protective measures when forced to defend those under its care from unlawful seizure. This is outrageous. Umbridge spluttered. No, came Ragnarok's voice as he entered through a hidden door. What's outrageous is attempting to remove a child who has suffered magical tampering and physical abuse, simply to return him to those who failed him. He approached Bones directly. Madam Bones, you have a reputation for justice. I invite you, alone, to review our full evidence regarding Mr. Potter's situation. If, after seeing everything, you still believe removing him is appropriate, we will comply. Bones considered this for a long moment. Release my Aurors as a show of good faith, and I will review your evidence. Ragnarok nodded, and the stone trapping the Aurors returned to normal. Mr. Potter, are you willing to remain here with Healer Pie while I show Madam Bones our findings? Harry nodded, relieved that the confrontation hadn't escalated further. Yes, Director. As Ragnarok led Bones away, Umbridge looked apoplectic. This is kidnapping and obstruction of ministry business. When the minister hears, the minister, Tonks interrupted coolly, should perhaps explain why he's so desperate to remove Harry from safe care when evidence of his godfather's innocence has just surfaced. Very suspicious timing, wouldn't you say? Umbridge's face went from red to white. She clearly hadn't anticipated this level of resistance or the political leverage the Godfather document provided. We should complete the examination, Healer Pie suggested, appearing surprisingly unperturbed by the dramatic turn of events. Since we're all here anyway. The next hour passed in tense silence as Pie and Rockjaw continued their examination, documenting Harry's improved health, magical development, and the evidence of the anchor's removal. Umbridge fumed quietly in the corner while the Aurors maintained professional neutrality, though Harry caught a few looking at him with curiosity rather than hostility. Finally, Bones returned with Ragnarok. Her expression had changed subtly, there was a tightness around her eyes and mouth that hadn't been there before. I've reviewed the evidence, she announced. Including pensive memories of the initial discovery of the anchors and Mr. Potter's living conditions with his relatives. She paused, composing herself. In light of this evidence, I am suspending the ministry's removal order pending a full investigation into both the soul anchors and the circumstances of Mr. Potter's placement with his Muggle relatives. Madam Bones. Umbridge protested. The minister will be fully briefed on what I've discovered, Bones cut her off firmly. Including evidence suggesting Sirius Black may have been wrongfully imprisoned without trial. She turned to Harry directly. Mr. Potter, I cannot overturn the minister's order entirely without proper procedure, but I can modify it. Would you consent to regular visits from a ministry representative to monitor your progress here? Harry exchanged glances with Silver Axe, who gave a subtle nod. That would be acceptable, Madam Bones. As long as it's someone fair. I'll oversee it personally, Bones assured him. And I'll begin reviewing the Black case immediately. Umbridge looked like she'd swallowed a lemon whole but could find no immediate counter to Bones' authority. Then if we're finished here, Ragnarok said smoothly, Gringotts will end lockdown procedures, and you may all return to the ministry with Healer Pie's report. After the ministry contingent departed, Umbridge practically vibrating with thwarted rage, Harry slumped against the examination table in relief. That, Tonks said, her hair cycling through colors before settling on a relieved blue, was too close. But successful, Silver Axe noted. Bones saw the evidence and made her own judgment, exactly as we hoped. Will it be enough? Harry asked. Dumbledore still has a lot of influence. It buys us time, Ragnarok said. And with Bones investigating the Black case, we may soon have a legitimate guardian to counter Dumbledore's claims. Harry nodded, feeling the weight of the day's events. Despite their victory, he knew this was just one battle in what would likely be a long war. Tonight's ritual should proceed as planned, Silver Axe said, changing subjects. After today's events, removing another anchor seems particularly appropriate. Harry agreed, though anxiety fluttered in his stomach. Each anchor removal brought knowledge and power, but also risk and pain. And tonight's target was another of Dumbledore's fragments, one connected to his memory centers. What secrets would it reveal? That evening, Harry found himself once again in the ritual chamber. The pattern of runes differed from the previous night, with symbols of memory and knowledge predominant in the design. This anchor, Silver Axe explained, appears to be blocking specific memories. Dumbledore placed it approximately 4 years ago, when you would have been 3. What memories could I have had at 3 that needed blocking? Harry wondered. That's what we intend to discover, Ragnarok said grimly. The ritual began as before, with goblin chanters building a framework of magic around Harry. As the spell took hold, he felt the familiar pain spreading from his scar, less intense than Voldemort's anchor had been, but still significant. Images began forming in his mind, a meeting in Dumbledore's office. Concerned voices. The boy shows too much awareness. Accidental magic at this level is unprecedented. He must be guided properly. For the greater good. The chanting intensified. Harry felt something unraveling in his mind, like a knot being carefully unpicked. Dumbledore kneeling before a small Harry in the Dursley home. Casting complex spells. You won't remember my visits, child. Your power must develop according to plan. When the time comes, you'll be ready to fulfill your destiny. With a sudden surge of magic, the anchor tore free. Blue energy coalesced above Harry, swirling and pulsing before being drawn into a containment crystal. Harry gasped as memories flooded back, Dumbledore visiting Privet Drive multiple times throughout his early childhood, monitoring him, adjusting the anchors, obliviating his relatives afterward. And one memory in particular stood out with shocking clarity: the prophecy binds him to Voldemort, Dumbledore murmured, casting another spell on the sleeping 3-year-old Harry. Neither can live while the other survives. He must die at the right moment, in the right way, to ensure Voldemort's final destruction. This path I set will lead him to make that sacrifice willingly. Harry bolted upright as the ritual concluded, his heart pounding. He planned for me to die, he blurted out. Dumbledore, he's been grooming me as a sacrifice. The goblins exchanged dark looks. Tell us everything you remember, Ragnarok commanded gently. Harry described the recovered memories in detail, Dumbledore's visits, the adjustments to the anchors, and most importantly, his statements about Harry's destiny and the prophecy. Neither can live while the other survives, Silverax repeated thoughtfully. A prophecy linking you and Voldemort. That explains much, Ragnarok said. Why Dumbledore placed the anchors, why he's so desperate to regain control of you. He wants me to die fighting Voldemort, Harry said, the terrible truth sinking in. He's been preparing me for it all along. Not just to die, Silverax corrected grimly. To die, in the right way, at the right moment. That suggests a specific plan. Harry felt cold despite the warm chamber. How could he do this? Set up a child to die. For what he calls, the greater good, Ragnarok said, his voice carrying centuries of goblin distrust for wizard morality. Albus Dumbledore has always been willing to sacrifice pieces on his chessboard. But I'm not a piece, Harry said, anger replacing shock. I'm a person. Yes, Silverax agreed fiercely. And now you know his plan, which gives you power to reject it. Harry considered this. Knowledge was indeed power, especially knowledge of what Dumbledore intended for him. But it also raised urgent questions. If there's a prophecy about me and Voldemort, I need to hear the whole thing, he decided. Not Dumbledore's interpretation. Prophecies are stored in the Department of Mysteries, Tonks said from her position near the door. She'd been so quiet that Harry had almost forgotten she was there. Only those named in a prophecy can retrieve it. Then I'll need to go there eventually, Harry said. But first, we need to free Sirius and remove more anchors. He stood, feeling stronger despite the ritual's drain. Anger fueled him now, not the consuming rage he'd felt through Voldemort's fragment, but a focused determination. Dumbledore planned for me to die, he repeated, the word solidifying his resolve. I plan to live. Over the next 4 months, Harry's life fell into a new rhythm. Weekly anchor removals continued, alternating between Dumbledore's and Voldemort's fragments. Each extraction brought new knowledge, abilities, and insights. From Voldemort's anchors, Harry gained prowess in dark magic theory, though he was careful about which spells he actually practiced, Parseltongue fluency, and an understanding of pure-blood politics that both fascinated and repelled him. Dumbledore's anchors yielded different treasures, transfiguration mastery beyond his years, occlumency techniques, diplomatic skills, and, most valuably, insights into Dumbledore's long-term plans. Between rituals, Harry trained with Silverax and Tonks, integrating his new knowledge into practical skills. His magic grew stronger, more controlled. At nearly 8 years old, he could already perform spells most third-year Hogwarts students struggled with. The political situation remained tense but stable. Amelia Bones made weekly visits, documenting Harry's progress and the evidence of the anchors. While clearly disturbed by what she learned, she maintained professional neutrality, though Harry sometimes caught her looking at him with something approaching sympathy. Dumbledore continued his public campaign to rescue Harry, but with diminished support. Bones' involvement had legitimized the Goblin's protection, and rumors about soul magic and the boy who lived had begun circulating in wizarding circles, raising uncomfortable questions. Most promising was the Sirius Black investigation. Bones had obtained permission to question Black under Veritaserum, and the results had sent shockwaves through the ministry. Proof of his innocence and Peter Pettigrew's guilt couldn't be ignored, despite political pressure from certain quarters. "They've scheduled a formal hearing for next week," Tonks reported excitedly, bursting into Harry's study where he was practicing rune sequences. "Sirius will be brought to the ministry under guard. If all goes well, he could be free within days." Harry looked up from his work, excitement bubbling through him. "Really? After all this time? Mum says it's practically guaranteed. The evidence is too solid, and Bones has been building public support. Even Fudge has started distancing himself from the unfortunate miscarriage of justice." Tonks rolled her eyes at the political maneuvering. "Will I get to meet him?" Harry asked, suddenly nervous at the prospect of meeting his godfather. "That's the plan," Tonks confirmed. "Once he's cleared, he'll need time at St. Mungo's. Azkaban does nasty things to your health, but after that, you two can start getting to know each other." The prospect filled Harry with both excitement and anxiety. What if Sirius didn't like what Harry had become? What if he sided with Dumbledore once he learned about the anchors and Harry's changed abilities? "He'll love you," Tonks said, reading his expression. "You're James and Lily's son, and from everything Mum's told me, Sirius adored you as a baby." Harry nodded, trying to believe it. "I hope so. It would be nice to have family." Tonks' hair softened to a gentle pink. "You already have family, Harry. Maybe not blood relatives, but people who care about you." The sentiment warmed him. Between Tonks, Silverax, and the other goblins who'd taken him under their protection, Harry had indeed found something like family. Not conventional, certainly, but genuine. "Tonight's the next ritual, right?" Tonks asked, changing subjects. "Which anchor?" "Another of Voldemort's," Harry confirmed. "Silverax believes it's connected to his knowledge of dark creatures. Could be useful, considering what we might face in the future." Tonks studied him for a moment. "You've changed, you know." "Not in a bad way, but, you talk more like an adult now." "Side effect of having two adult wizards' knowledge in my head," Harry said with a shrug. "Sometimes I catch myself using phrases or references I shouldn't know." "It's not just that," Tonks persisted. "You carry yourself differently. More confident." Harry considered this. "I feel more, myself. Like the anchors were muffling who I really am. Each removal lets more of me through." "Just make sure you doesn't get lost among all that extra knowledge," Tonks advised. "We like Harry, not Mini Dumbledore or Mini Voldemort." "Trust me," Harry said with feeling, "the last thing I want is to become like either of them." Before Tonks could respond, an alarm blared throughout Gringotts, different from the lockdown signal, but equally urgent. Perimeter breach, Tonks identified immediately, her aura training kicking in. Someone's trying to force entry through the lower tunnels. Harry was already moving, grabbing his emergency pack, a goblin-made bag containing essential supplies for quick evacuation. All residents of Gringotts had one, part of standard security protocols. They rushed to the security center, where Ragnarok was coordinating the response. "Status?" Tonks demanded as they entered. Multiple intruders, Ragnarok reported tersely. Two groups, coming from different directions. One breached the northeastern tunnels, another attempting entry through the old vault section. Death Eaters? Harry asked, scanning the magical displays showing the intruders' positions. Unknown, Silveraxe said, joining them. But the timing is suspicious, one day before Black's hearing. Someone doesn't want your godfather freed. A goblin security officer approached with a crystal showing a captured image of one intruder. Though hooded, the distinctive wooden leg was unmistakable. Alastair Moody, Tonks identified, looking troubled. He's not a Death Eater, he's an Auror. One of the best. Retired, Silveraxe corrected. And known to be loyal to Dumbledore. So one group is Dumbledore's people, Harry reasoned. And the other? Another image appeared on the crystal, this one showing a figure in a black cloak, wearing a silver mask. Death Eaters, Ragnarok confirmed grimly. It seems both sides want you, Mr. Potter, for their own purposes. Harry's mind raced. They're working separately. Not together. Definitely separate, Silveraxe confirmed. They've already exchanged spells in the lower east corridor. Neither expected the other. We need to move you to a secure location, Ragnarok decided. The ritual chamber is our most defensible position. Ms. Tonks, you'll accompany him. Tonks nodded crisply, her hair shifting to combat-ready black. What about tonight's ritual? Postponed, Silveraxe said firmly. Security takes precedence. As they rushed through the corridors toward the ritual chamber, Harry's mind kept working. This is too coordinated to be coincidence. Both groups attacking simultaneously, right before Sirius's hearing. You think they're connected after all? Tonks asked. Not directly, but they must have been tipped off by the same source, Harry theorized. Someone who wants to prevent Sirius from becoming my guardian. They reached the ritual chamber, where goblin warriors had already established defensive positions. The chamber's natural protections made it ideal as a last stand, one entrance, magically reinforced walls, and ancient runes that disrupted offensive magic. Stay here, Silveraxe instructed. I'll coordinate with security and return when it's safe. Left alone with Tonks, Harry paced anxiously. We can't just hide. We need to know what's happening. Tonks hesitated, then pulled out what looked like a small mirror. Emergency communicator. Auror issue. She tapped it with her wand. Shacklebolt. After a moment, a deep voice responded. Tonks. What's going on? The Ministry's in an uproar, reports of fighting at Gringotts. We're under attack, Tonks confirmed. Death Eaters and what looks like Order members, coming from different directions. Order members? The voice sounded shocked. Are you certain? Moody's leading them, Tonks said grimly. Kingsley, what's happening at the Ministry? This feels coordinated. It is, Kingsley confirmed. Someone released evidence suggesting Black was planning an escape before his hearing. Security's been doubled, and his hearing's been pushed back, pending investigation. Harry and Tonks exchanged alarmed looks. It's a setup, Harry said. Delay Sirius's freedom while trying to recapture me. But who benefits from both Death Eaters and Order members making attempts? Tonks wondered. Before they could speculate further, the chamber doors burst open. Silveraxe rushed in, bleeding from a cut on his arm. They've breached the inner defenses, he reported tersely. Both groups converging on this location. How? Tonks demanded. The security protocols were compromised, Silveraxe growled. Someone on the inside provided access codes. A goblin traitor? Harry asked, shocked. Goblin loyalty was legendary. Imperius, most likely, Silveraxe said. We found Griphook unconscious near the security hub. The implications were chilling. Someone had planned this meticulously, neutralizing key personnel, coordinating simultaneous attacks, and timing it all to disrupt Sirius's hearing. We need to move, Silver Axe decided. The secondary escape route through the old vault system. It leads to a safe house in Muggle London. They hurried through a hidden passage behind the ritual altar, descending deeper into the bank. The sounds of fighting echoed distantly through the stone corridors. What about Ragnarok and the others? Harry asked as they ran. Following their own escape protocols, Silver Axe assured him. The bank will be sealed completely once all personnel have evacuated. They reached an ancient section of tunnels, the air heavy with age and protective magic. Harry could feel the weight of centuries pressing down. This part of Gringotts predated the modern bank structure. Almost there, Silver Axe said as they approached what looked like a dead end. He placed his hand on a specific stone, channeling goblin magic through his palm. The wall shimmered and began to dissolve, revealing a narrow passage beyond. Suddenly, a voice called from behind them. Stop right there. They spun to find themselves facing Alastair Moody, his magical eye whirling frantically as he trained his wand on them. Behind him stood several figures Harry didn't recognize, presumably Order members. The boy comes with us, Moody growled. Dumbledore's orders. Before anyone could respond, another voice cut through the tension. I think not. From a side passage emerged 3 Death Eaters, masks gleaming in the dim light. The leader stepped forward, wand raised. The Dark Lord requires Potter. Step aside, or die. For a moment, everyone froze in the perfect standoff, Order members, Death Eaters, and Harry's group all with wands drawn, no one willing to make the first move. Tonks shifted subtly, positioning herself between Harry and both threats. Moody, she said steadily, you know this is wrong. Kidnapping a child. This isn't what the Order stands for. You don't understand the stakes, girl, Moody replied. The boy is essential. Prophecies don't lie. Enough talking, the Death Eater leader snapped. Avada, several things happened simultaneously. Silver Axe slammed his hand against another stone in the wall, triggering a goblin trap. The floor beneath the Death Eaters collapsed, sending them plummeting into darkness. Tonks fired a stunning spell at Moody, who deflected it with practiced ease. And Harry, drawing on Voldemort's knowledge from the removed anchors, cast a spell he'd never attempted before, a modified shield charm that expanded outward in a concussive wave, knocking Moody and the Order members off their feet. Go! Silver Axe shouted, pushing Harry and Tonks through the now open escape passage. I'll hold them off. Not without you. Harry protested. I'll follow, Silver Axe promised. Someone must collapse the tunnel behind us. Recognizing the logic but hating it, Harry nodded. Be careful. He and Tonks sprinted through the passage as sounds of battle erupted behind them. The narrow tunnel twisted and turned, leading ever upward toward the Muggle world above. They emerged in what appeared to be a maintenance room in a Muggle underground station. Tonks quickly transfigured their robes into ordinary Muggle clothing. The safe house is 3 blocks east, she said, checking the street through a small window. Stay close to me. They slipped out into the evening London crowd, 2 more anonymous faces among thousands. Harry kept his head down, acutely aware that they weren't safe yet. Do you think Silver Axe made it? He asked quietly as they walked. If anyone could, it's him, Tonks said, but her tone lacked conviction. He survived worse. They reached the safe house, an unremarkable townhouse wedged between similar buildings. Only the subtle goblin runes carved into the doorframe marked it as special. Inside, the house was sparsely furnished but comfortable. Goblin magic hummed in the walls, protection spells, anti-detection wards, proximity alarms. What now? Harry asked, the adrenaline beginning to fade, leaving exhaustion in its wake. We wait, Tonks said simply. Either for Silver Axe or for a message from Ragnarok. Hours passed with agonizing slowness. Harry tried to sleep but found himself too anxious, his mind replaying the events of the day. The coordinated attack, the perfect timing, the knowledge both groups seemed to have of Gringotts' defenses. Something doesn't add up, he told Tonks as they shared a simple meal from the safe house's supplies. How did both groups know to attack today? How did they get past Goblin security so easily? Tonks looked troubled. I've been wondering the same thing. Even with an Imperiust insider, Gringotts' defenses are legendary. This feels orchestrated. By whom? Not Dumbledore or Voldemort working together. Maybe someone playing both sides? Tonks suggested. Someone who benefits from chaos. Before they could pursue that disturbing thought, the fireplace flared green. Tonks immediately had her wand trained on it, but relaxed when Silveraxe stepped through, looking battered but alive. You made it. Harry exclaimed in relief. Barely, the goblin admitted, collapsing into a chair. Moody is formidable, even for a human. What's happening at Gringotts? Tonks asked, passing him a healing potion. The bank is sealed, Silveraxe reported after drinking. Both attack groups were repelled, but not before causing significant damage. 3 goblins dead, several humans as well, mostly Death Eaters. And the Order members? Escaped, mostly. We captured one, a wizard named Mundungus Fletcher. Not particularly loyal, he's already talking in exchange for leniency. What did he say? Harry pressed. Dumbledore told them you were being held against your will, subjected to dark rituals that were corrupting your mind and magic. They were to extract you by any means necessary. Harry felt cold anger rising. He's spinning the anchor removals as corruption. Yes, Silveraxe agreed. And it's working with some. The Prophet will undoubtedly run stories tomorrow about concerns for your well-being. What about Sirius's hearing? Tonks asked. Postponed indefinitely, citing security concerns. Silveraxe's expression was grim. Someone has gone to great lengths to maintain the status quo, keeping you without a proper guardian, keeping Black imprisoned. Dumbledore, Harry said with certainty. It has to be. Perhaps, Silveraxe said cautiously. But the Death Eater involvement complicates that theory. Unless he manipulated them too, Tonks suggested. A well-placed leak about Harry being vulnerable during a specific time frame. Harry paced the small room, thinking furiously. We need to accelerate our plans. How many anchors remain? 11, Silveraxe said. 6 of Dumbledore's, 5 of Voldemort's. Can we remove them faster? Harry asked. Multiple extractions? Silveraxe looked troubled. It would be dangerous. Your mind and magic need time to adjust between removals. We may not have that luxury anymore, Harry argued. After today's attack, Dumbledore will escalate his efforts. And if Death Eaters are actively hunting me again. There may be a compromise, Silveraxe said slowly. A ritual to remove multiple anchors of the same type simultaneously. It would be painful and risky, but possible. How many at once? Harry asked. 3, perhaps 4 with proper preparation. Harry made his decision. Then that's what we'll do. Remove Dumbledore's remaining anchors first, his knowledge will help us counter whatever he's planning. Tonks looked worried. Harry, the risk is necessary, he finished firmly. I can't fight them with pieces of them still controlling me. Silveraxe studied him with an unreadable expression. You've changed, Harry Potter. 6 months ago, you were a frightened child. Now I'm still a child, Harry said quietly, but one who's tired of being a pawn in someone else's game. The goblin nodded slowly. Very well. We'll prepare the mass extraction ritual. But not here, we need the full resources of a goblin ritual chamber. Gringotts is sealed, Tonks pointed out. The main bank, yes, Silveraxe agreed. But there are other goblin enclaves. There's one in Scotland, near Hogwarts actually, that houses our most skilled ritual masters. How soon can we go? Harry asked. Tomorrow, Silver Axe decided. You need rest first, and I need to make arrangements. That night, Harry dreamed of the prophecy Dumbledore had mentioned, neither can live while the other survives. In the dream, he stood between two wizards, Dumbledore on his right, Voldemort on his left. Both reached for him, their hands becoming chains that bound his arms. You belong to me, they said in unison, their voices overlapping. No, Harry replied, his voice stronger than he felt. I belong to myself. He awoke with the words still on his lips, the dream fading but its meaning clear. Two powerful wizards had tried to claim him, to shape him according to their designs. Both had left pieces of themselves inside him. Tomorrow, he would begin the final process of breaking free from their influence. Whatever pain it brought, whatever knowledge it unlocked, Harry welcomed it. Better the truth, however difficult, than comfortable lies. As dawn broke over London, Harry stood at the safe house window, watching early commuters hurrying to work, oblivious to the magical conflict unfolding in their midst. In a way, he envied them their normal lives, their ordinary concerns. But his path had never been ordinary, not since that Halloween night when Voldemort had marked him. Not since Dumbledore had decided his fate. I'm ready, he told Silver Axe when the Goblin joined him. For whatever comes next. Silver Axe nodded, a rare respect in his eyes. Then let us break these chains, Harry Potter. All of them. Chapter 3, Two Masters, One Fate. Concentrate, Harry. Feel the magic, don't force it. Harry stood in the center of the training room, eyes closed, magic flowing around him in visible currents of gold and silver. At nearly 9 years old, he'd grown taller and stronger over the past year. The scared, skinny boy from Privet Drive existed only in memory. I am concentrating, he muttered, then yelped as a stinging hex caught his shoulder. Silver Axe circled him, wand raised. Your opponents won't announce their attacks. Your magical senses should detect the buildup before the spell launches. Harry nodded, steadying his breathing. After months of intensive training, he developed what the goblins called magical awareness, the ability to feel magic in the environment around him. 23 soul anchors had been removed, leaving only 4 remaining. Each extraction had expanded his magical abilities in ways that continued to surprise everyone, including himself. He felt a ripple in the magical field to his left and spun, shield charm already forming. Silver Axe stunner crashed against it harmlessly. Better, the goblin approved. Again. For the next hour, they continued the exercise, Silver Axe attacking from random directions while Harry, blindfolded now, relied solely on magical senses to defend himself. By the end, he'd blocked 19 spells and been hit only twice. Your progress continues to impress, Silver Axe said as they cooled down. Few adult wizards achieve such awareness without decades of training. I had help, Harry said wryly, tapping his scar. The lightning bolt had faded to a thin, silver line, barely visible except in certain light. 23 anchors worth of magical knowledge tends to speed things along. Knowledge alone wouldn't be sufficient, Silver Axe countered. You've integrated it remarkably well. Harry wiped sweat from his brow, considering the past year's journey. The mass extraction ritual in Scotland had been brutal. Removing 6 of Dumbledore's anchors simultaneously had left him unconscious for 3 days. But upon waking, his magical control had increased exponentially, along with a comprehensive understanding of Dumbledore's political network and manipulation tactics. The subsequent months had seen similar progress with Voldemort's anchors, though they'd removed those more cautiously, 1 or 2 at a time, after Harry experienced disturbing nightmares and mood swings following the first batch. Any word from Tonks about today? Harry asked, changing subjects as they left the training room. The Wisengamot session begins at noon. If all goes as planned, Black will be officially exonerated and released by evening. Harry felt a flutter of nervous excitement. After a year of legal battles, evidence gathering, and political maneuvering, Sirius Black would finally be free, and Harry would finally meet his godfather. "You're anxious," Silverax observed as they walked toward their quarters in the Scottish Goblin enclave that had become their home after the Gringotts' attack. "What if he doesn't like what I've become?" Harry admitted quietly. "All this knowledge, these abilities. I'm not exactly a normal kid anymore." "You were never destined for normal, Harry Potter," Silverax said bluntly. "Even without the anchors, your magical potential was exceptional. Black will see that." "I hope so," Harry murmured. They reached the common area where breakfast awaited. Several other goblins were already eating, along with a handful of human allies who joined their cause over the past year. "Morning, Harry," called Bathilda Bagshot, the elderly historian who provided crucial evidence about Dumbledore's early life and connection to Grindelwald. Her research had proven instrumental in understanding the theoretical basis for the soul anchors. "Professor Bagshot," Harry greeted her warmly. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep," she admitted. "Too excited about today's Wisengamot session. Been waiting decades to see Albus taken down a peg." Harry grinned as he took a seat beside her. The alliance between the goblins and certain disaffected magical scholars had grown organically as news of Harry's situation spread through carefully cultivated channels. People who'd questioned Dumbledore's methods over the years found themselves drawn to what the media had begun calling the Potter faction. "The prophet arrived," said Gornick, sliding the newspaper across the table. "You'll want to see the front page." Harry unfolded the paper, unsurprised but still satisfied by the headline. "Black exoneration expected today." Wisengamot to review shocking new evidence in Potter betrayal case. Below was a smaller, related headline. Dumbledore's role in Black imprisonment. Chief Warlock's decision to withhold trial under scrutiny. "They're finally asking the right questions," Harry observed, scanning the article. "Mentions the Godfather oath too." "Amelia Bones deserves much of the credit," Bagshot noted. "Standing up to Dumbledore and Fudge couldn't have been easy." Harry nodded in agreement. Bones had proven herself a powerful ally, methodically building the case for Sirius's innocence while subtly gathering support within the Ministry. Her investigation had uncovered disturbing irregularities in numerous cases from the post-war period, not just Sirius's. "She'll be at the safe house tonight," Silverax reminded Harry. "Along with Andromeda and Ted Tonks, to help Black adjust after Azkaban." "And I'll finally meet him," Harry said, feeling that nervous flutter again. "You've got an hour before the team heads to London," Silverax said. "Perhaps review the remaining anchor situation." Harry nodded, appreciating the distraction. They moved to a private meeting room where a three-dimensional model of Harry's scar hung in the air, showing the 4 remaining soul anchors, 2 red, Voldemort, and 2 blue, Dumbledore. "These final anchors are the most deeply embedded," Silverax explained. "Each connects to a fundamental aspect of your magical core. Dumbledore's are linked to my emotional responses and moral framework," Harry said, having studied the scans extensively. "And Voldemort's? One affects your connection to death magic, likely the original fragment from the killing curse. The other seems to be a communication conduit. Like a backdoor into my mind," Harry said grimly. "That's how he sends the nightmares." Removing 23 anchors had dramatically reduced Harry's mysterious pains and dreams, but occasionally he still woke sweating from visions of Voldemort, fragmented images of a wraith-like existence in distant forests, possessing animals and weak-minded wizards. "All 4 must be removed together," Silverax continued. "They're too interconnected now to extract separately." "And the risks?" Harry asked, already knowing the answer but needing to hear it again. "Substantial," the Goblin admitted. "These anchors have integrated with your core magic. Removing them could temporarily destabilize your entire magical system. Worse, their removal may trigger a final defense mechanism." "What kind of defense mechanism?" "We believe both wizards embedded commands in their deepest anchors, instructions designed to activate if the anchors were threatened. Possibly an attempt to possess you directly." Harry suppressed a shudder. The thought of Dumbledore or Voldemort taking control of his body, even temporarily, was horrifying. That's why we need all hands for the final ritual, Silveraxe concluded. Every protection possible, every safeguard we can devise. Harry stared at the floating model, the four colored points pulsing gently like heartbeats. So close to freedom, yet these final anchors represented perhaps the greatest challenge. After today, he decided. Once Sirius is free and settled, we'll do the final extraction. I want to meet my godfather without any pieces of them still inside me. The Ministry of Magic buzzed with unusual activity as Harry and his escort arrived through a secure flow connection. Disguised with subtle glamour charms to avoid immediate recognition, Harry wore formal robes with both Potter and Black family colors, a deliberate political statement that wouldn't be lost on the purebloods present. Tonks met them in a private antechamber, her hair a conservative brown today though her eyes sparkled with excitement. It's packed out there, she reported. Full Wizengamot attendance, plus reporters, spectators, everyone who could wrangle an invitation. Dumbledore? Harry asked quietly. In his element, Tonks confirmed. Playing the magnanimous leader, claiming he welcomes this opportunity to correct a historical oversight. As if he wasn't the one who sent Sirius to Azkaban without a trial in the first place. Harry nodded, unsurprised. Over the past year, he'd learned to anticipate Dumbledore's tactics. The old wizard never admitted mistakes, merely reframed events to maintain his benevolent image. And Sirius? Already in the holding room. Looks better than expected, considering. Healers have been working with him for weeks. She squeezed Harry's shoulder. He's been asking about you. Constantly. That eased some of Harry's anxiety. When do I see him? After the formal exoneration. Bones arranged a private reunion before the press conference. Tonks checked her watch. Session starts in 20 minutes. Ready for your grand entrance? Harry took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. Their plan was bold, perhaps recklessly so. Harry would remain disguised until the perfect moment, then reveal himself during the proceedings. The shock value alone would be worth it, but more importantly, it would prevent Dumbledore from controlling the narrative. Silveraxe handed Harry a small crystal. Emergency port key. Activation word is sanctuary. Use it if anything feels wrong. Harry tucked it into his pocket, appreciating the precaution but hoping it wouldn't be necessary. After a year of shadows and seclusion, he was ready to step into the light, to show the wizarding world that Harry Potter was neither missing nor manipulated, but very much his own person. They entered the Wizengamot chamber through a side door, taking seats in the visitor gallery. From this vantage point, Harry could observe the entire proceeding while remaining relatively inconspicuous. Silveraxe sat beside him, glamored to appear as a human solicitor, while Tonks joined the Auror contingent near the main floor. The chamber itself impressed even Harry's anchor-enhanced sensibilities. Tiered seating rose in a semicircle around a central speaking floor, with the chief warlock's podium positioned at the focal point. Members of the Wizengamot in their plum-colored robes filled most seats, while spectators and press occupied the upper galleries. At precisely noon, Dumbledore entered and took his position at the chief warlock's podium. Despite everything Harry knew about the man's manipulations, he couldn't help but be impressed by Dumbledore's sheer presence, the flowing silver hair and beard, the half-moon spectacles, the aura of wisdom and power that seemed to surround him. Honored members of the Wizengamot, Dumbledore began, his voice resonating perfectly throughout the chamber. We convene today to address a matter of grave importance, a potential miscarriage of justice dating back to the end of the last Wizarding War. Harry listened as Dumbledore masterfully framed the proceedings, expressing deep concern about Black's lack of trial while subtly distancing himself from the original decision, implying it had been a ministry failure rather than his own. Amelia Bones rose next, her monocle glinting in the chamber's light. Thank you, Chief Warlock. As head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, I have conducted a thorough review of Sirius Black's case over the past year. The findings are, to put it plainly, disturbing. She proceeded to methodically dismantle the case against Sirius, presenting evidence in a clear, compelling manner, the lack of trial transcripts, the absence of magical forensics at the crime scene, witness testimony that had never been properly verified, and most damningly, the Godfather oath that would have made betraying the Potters magically impossible for Sirius. Given these findings, Bones concluded, the DMLE formally recommends complete exoneration of Sirius Black and immediate release from custody, with full restoration of rights and properties, plus appropriate compensation for wrongful imprisonment. Murmurs spread through the chamber as the members absorbed the implications. Harry watched Dumbledore closely, noting the subtle tightening around his eyes, the only visible sign of displeasure in his otherwise benign expression. "Thank you, Madam Bones, for this most thorough investigation," Dumbledore said smoothly. "Before we proceed to discussion and vote, perhaps we should hear from Mr. Black himself." Sirius was brought in, and Harry's breath caught. Though thinner and more careworn than the man in the photos Harry had seen, Sirius Black carried himself with dignity. His grey eyes scanned the chamber with wary intelligence, his expression carefully controlled. "Mr. Black," Dumbledore addressed him, "you have heard the evidence presented by Madam Bones. Do you wish to make a statement before this body?" Sirius stepped forward, and when he spoke, his voice was rough but steady. "I've spent 7 years in Azkaban for a crime I didn't commit. 7 years while Peter Pettigrew, the real traitor, roamed free. I lost everything, my freedom, my friends, and most importantly, the chance to raise my godson as I swore to James and Lily I would." He paused, his gaze sweeping the chamber. "I don't want your pity. I want justice, not just for me, but for Harry Potter, who was denied his rightful guardian because certain powerful people found it more convenient to throw me in prison without a trial." Harry felt a surge of fierce pride at Sirius's directness. No groveling, no begging for sympathy, just truth, bluntly delivered. The questioning continued for nearly an hour. Various Wizengamot members pressed Sirius on details of that night, his relationship with the Potters, his knowledge of Pettigrew's whereabouts. Throughout it all, Sirius remained composed, answering clearly and directly. Finally, Dumbledore called for a vote. The result was overwhelming, 42 for exoneration, 5 abstentions, and only 2 against. Magical chains binding Sirius's wrists fell away with a symbolic clink. "Sirius Black, you are hereby declared innocent of all charges," Dumbledore announced. "Your rights, titles, and properties are fully restored, and the Ministry shall determine appropriate compensation for your wrongful imprisonment. This body offers its sincere apologies for this grave miscarriage of justice." The chamber erupted in applause and conversation. Harry felt Silverax touch his arm, the signal they'd agreed upon. It was time. Harry stood and moved toward the staircase leading to the main floor. As he descended, he cancelled the glamour charms with a subtle wave of his hand, a wandless display that wasn't lost on the more observant members present. The chamber fell silent as recognition spread. Harry Potter, the supposedly kidnapped boy who lived, walking calmly toward Sirius Black. "Harry?" Sirius whispered, disbelief and hope warring in his expression. "Hello, Sirius," Harry said clearly, his voice carrying in the silent chamber. "I've been waiting a long time to meet you." The moment hung suspended, then Sirius surged forward, pulling Harry into a fierce embrace. Harry returned it, feeling an unexpected lump in his throat. This was family, his family, claiming him at last. When they separated, both had suspiciously bright eyes. Harry turned to face the chamber, aware that every eye was upon them. "Members of the Wizengamot," he said, his voice steady despite his youth. "I appear before you today of my own free will to witness justice being done for my godfather. Harry, my boy." Dumbledore had recovered from his shock, his grandfatherly persona sliding smoothly back into place. "What a wonderful surprise. We've been so concerned for your welfare these past 18 months. Have you?" Harry asked mildly. "Then perhaps you can explain why you placed 16 soul anchors in my scar." The chamber exploded with shocked exclamations. Dumbledore's composure slipped, if only for a second, before he raised his hands for silence. "Harry, These are serious allegations that require proper context. They're not allegations, Headmaster. They're facts, Harry interrupted, holding up a crystal similar to those used in pensive memories. This contains the Goblin diagnostic scans showing 27 soul anchors embedded in my scar, 16 from you, 11 from Voldemort. Another wave of gasps at the name, but Harry continued. 23 have been removed through carefully conducted rituals. Each removal has restored portions of my magic and mind that were being controlled. These are complex matters beyond the understanding of a child, Dumbledore said, his voice still kind but with an edge of steel beneath. Soul magic is dangerous and easily misinterpreted. Then perhaps, came Amelia Bones's crisp voice, you would care to explain your interpretation, Chief Warlock? Why would soul fragments bearing your magical signature be found in Harry Potter's scar? Dumbledore found himself caught. Denying the existence of the anchors would invite immediate verification, while admitting to them would confirm illegal magic. I have always acted in Harry's best interests, he said carefully. After surviving Voldemort's attack, Harry was left with dark magic contaminating his scar. The measures I took were protective, containing and counterbalancing that darkness. By adding your own soul fragments? Sirius demanded, his arms still protectively around Harry. That's not protection, that's control. You cannot understand the complexities involved, Dumbledore replied. The prophecy, he stopped abruptly, realizing his mistake. Yes, the prophecy, Harry said, seizing the opening. The one you partially told Voldemort, ensuring he would target my family. The one you've used to justify manipulating my entire life toward a single purpose, dying at the right moment to fulfill your grand plan. The chamber was utterly silent now. Even the reporters had stopped scribbling, too shocked by the unfolding drama. Harry, Dumbledore said softly, you have access to knowledge without context, memories without understanding. What you believe to be manipulation was protection. I understand enough, Harry cut him off. I understand you left me with abusive relatives despite my parents' will forbidding it. I understand you blocked my magic and memories with soul anchors. I understand you sent Sirius to Azkaban without a trial, ensuring I would have no family to turn to except those you selected. Harry stepped forward, his magic responding to his emotions, subtle but perceptible to those sensitive enough to feel it. What I don't understand, Professor, is why you continue to pretend these were acts of protection rather than control. Dumbledore's expression hardened slightly. You stand here speaking of matters beyond your years, using magic beyond your age, and you question who has controlled you? The goblins have clearly influenced you against. The goblins removed your anchors, Harry interrupted again. They didn't add any of their own. That's the difference, Headmaster, they freed me from control rather than imposing it. Sirius stepped forward. As Harry's legal guardian, a position I now reclaim, I formally request an investigation into Albus Dumbledore's use of soul magic on my godson. Bones nodded crisply. The DMLE will open an immediate investigation. And I formally request, Harry added, that Albus Dumbledore be recused from any position of authority over me, including as Hogwarts headmaster when I eventually attend. This caused another stir, the boy who lived effectively declaring he wouldn't accept Dumbledore's authority. That would be premature, Dumbledore said, regaining some composure. Especially given that young Harry will need guidance to safely remove any remaining anchors, a process that requires expertise few possess. The final 4 anchors will be removed tonight, Harry announced. After which, I will be completely free of both your influence and Voldemort's. He could tell from Dumbledore's expression that this information startled him, the timetable clearly more accelerated than he'd anticipated. Tonight? Dumbledore repeated. Harry, that would be extraordinarily dangerous. The remaining anchors are undoubtedly the most deeply integrated with your magic. Rushing their removal could have catastrophic consequences. The ritual has been planned for months, Harry replied. Every precaution has been taken. I must insist on being present, Dumbledore said, switching tactics. As the creator of some of these anchors, my expertise would be invaluable in ensuring their safe removal. Your presence would be a conflict of interest, Sirius interjected. Given that you placed the anchors without consent or guardianship authority. The debate might have continued, but a commotion at the chamber entrance interrupted them. A breathless messenger burst in, rushing to Bones and whispering urgently in her ear. Her face paled slightly. The session is temporarily suspended, she announced. Security breach at the ministry's outer perimeters. All members please remain in the chamber until the all-clear is given. What kind of breach? Someone called out. Bones hesitated, then answered grimly, multiple magical signatures consistent with Death Eater activity, approaching from 3 directions. Harry and Silveraxe exchanged alarmed glances. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. Just as Harry publicly revealed himself, just as Sirius was freed, Death Eaters launched an attack. We need to leave, Silveraxe muttered. Now. Harry nodded, but before they could move, Dumbledore's voice rang out. Harry, come with me. Hogwarts remains the safest place in Britain. I can ensure your protection there. He stays with me, Sirius countered firmly. I'm his guardian. A guardian recently released from Azkaban, hardly in condition to protect him from Death Eaters, Dumbledore pointed out. Harry felt the familiar pressure building, 2 powerful wizards trying to control his movements, his choices. But he wasn't a helpless child anymore. I have my own protections, he said clearly. And my own plans. Before either man could respond, the chamber doors burst open. Aurors rushed in, led by Kingsley Shacklebolt. Death Eaters have breached the outer security, he reported. At least 20, led by Bellatrix Lestrange and Antonin Dolohov. They're heading straight for this chamber. Panic erupted as Wizengamot members scrambled for exits or drew wands. Dumbledore raised his own wand, sending his Phoenix Patronus racing through the walls with messages. Order members are in the building, he announced. They will assist in the defense. Harry felt a chill. Order members already in the ministry. That seemed like another unlikely coincidence. Sirius, Harry, with me, Silveraxe said urgently. We have an emergency exit route. They started toward a side door, but Dumbledore blocked their path. Harry, please. Hogwarts is the only truly safe haven now. Back off, Albus, Sirius growled. You lost the right to make decisions for Harry when you put soul fragments in him. The standoff might have continued, but the main doors exploded inward in a shower of splinters. Through the smoke strode a wild-haired witch, her face alight with manic glee. Hello, cousin. Bellatrix Lestrange called to Sirius. Out of Azkaban so soon? Don't worry, I'll send you back. In pieces. Behind her came more Death Eaters, masks gleaming as they spread into the chamber. Aurors and the braver Wizengamot members formed defensive positions, spells already flying. Take Harry and go, Sirius told Silveraxe, drawing his newly returned wand. I'll hold them off. No, Harry said firmly. We leave together or not at all. The battle erupted in earnest, spells crisscrossing the chamber in deadly streams of light. Dumbledore waded into the fight, his magic awesome to behold as he dueled 3 Death Eaters simultaneously. This way. Tonks appeared beside them, her hair combat red. Emergency flew in the antechamber. They fought their way toward the side exit, Sirius and Tonks providing covering fire while Silveraxe shielded Harry. Despite his training and abilities, Harry knew this wasn't the time to demonstrate his full capabilities, not with both Dumbledore and Death Eaters watching. They reached the antechamber only to find the Floo connection severed, the fire cold and dead. Damn it! Tonks cursed. They've cut off the network. Apparition? Sirius suggested. Anti-apparition wards are up, Silveraxe confirmed after a quick magical check. Someone planned this very carefully. Harry pulled the emergency port key from his pocket. We have this. Wait, Silveraxe warned. Let me verify it hasn't been tampered with. As the goblin cast diagnostic spells on the crystal, the antechamber door burst open. But instead of Death Eaters, it was Alastair Moody and several Order members. "Potter," Moody growled, magical eyes spinning wildly. "Dumbledore sent us to extract you. Come with us now, we have a secure route out." Harry hesitated, suspicious of the timing and Moody's insistence. "He stays with me," Sirius said, stepping between Harry and the Order members. "Don't be stupid, Black," Moody snapped. "You're barely out of Azkaban. The boy needs proper protection. And you think that's Dumbledore?" Sirius laughed harshly. "The man who left him with abusive muggles and put soul fragments in his scar." Moody's human eye narrowed. "Those are unproven allegations." "Actually," Harry interjected, "they're well-documented facts. Would you like to see the diagnostic scans?" Before Moody could respond, spells blasted the opposite wall. Death Eaters poured in, led by Dolohov, his wand already casting. "Kill the blood traitor," he ordered. "Take Potter alive." The room erupted into chaos, Order members and Death Eaters firing spells, seemingly at each other but suspiciously avoiding hitting Harry directly. Sirius pushed Harry behind him, dueling furiously. "The portkey's been disabled," Silverax reported grimly. "And reconfigured to send us to Hogwarts." "Dumbledore," Harry realized. "He's working with Moody to force us to Hogwarts while making it look like a rescue. And the Death Eaters are providing convenient cover," Tonks added, deflecting a curse. "Though I don't think they're in on the plan, they're trying to genuinely capture you." "Two separate groups with the same goal," Harry muttered. "Just like at Gringotts." He assessed their options rapidly. No flue, no apparition, no portkey. The antechamber had only two exits, one back to the Wizengamot chamber where Dumbledore waited, one to the corridor now blocked by fighting. "I have an idea," Harry said quietly to Silverax. "But you won't like it." "Those are often your best ideas," the goblin replied dryly. Harry nodded toward the ceiling. "The Ministry has maintenance shafts above these chambers. They're not on the main building plans, but Dumbledore's anchors included detailed knowledge of the Ministry layout." Silverax followed his gaze. "And you can access them how?" In answer, Harry closed his eyes briefly, drawing on magic he'd rarely used publicly, wandless transfiguration learned from Dumbledore's anchors combined with blasting power from Voldemort's. He raised his hand toward the ceiling and released a controlled burst of magic. The ornate plasterwork cracked precisely along architectural seams, a section collapsing to reveal a narrow shaft above. The display of wandless magic momentarily shocked both Order members and Death Eaters into stillness. "Tonks," Harry called. "Can you levitate us up one by one?" She nodded, already casting. "Sirius first." As she levitated Sirius into the shaft, fighting resumed around them. Harry ducked a stunner from Moody, who looked increasingly frustrated. "Potter, this is madness," the old Auror growled. "Dumbledore is trying to protect you. Like he protected Sirius? By sending him to Azkaban without a trial?" Harry countered, dodging another spell. "No thanks." Silverax went up next, then Harry. Tonks levitated herself last, sealing the ceiling behind them with a quick repair charm. The maintenance shaft was narrow but navigable, a forgotten space between floors, used for magical conduits and ventilation. Harry led the way, drawing on Dumbledore's memories of the Ministry's construction. "How far to an exit?" Sirius asked, looking impressed despite their situation. "There's a service entrance 3 levels up that connects to a maintenance flue," Harry explained. "Emergency only, not on the main network." "And you know this how?" Sirius asked curiously. "Long story involving soul anchors and extracted memories," Harry said with a grim smile. "I'll explain once we're safe." They moved quickly through the dusty shafts, hearing occasional sounds of fighting below. After about 10 minutes of careful navigation, they reached the service area Harry had described. The maintenance flue stood ready, a small fire burning green. "This will take us to the ministry's external service building," Harry explained. "From there, we can apparate." "To the safe house?" Tonks asked. Harry shook his head. "Too risky now. Both sides know too much about our previous locations. We need somewhere unexpected." He turned to Sirius. "Do you still own the house in London? The Black family home?" Sirius's expression darkened. "Grimmauld Place?" "Yes, but it's not exactly welcoming. Haven't been there since I ran away at 16. But it has protections, right? Old family wards. Some of the strongest in Britain," Sirius admitted reluctantly. "But also probably cursed to high heaven after all these years." "We can handle curses," Silverax said confidently. "And no one would expect us to use a location Harry's guardian hates." Sirius considered this, then nodded. "Tactically sound, if unpleasant. All right, Grimmauld Place it is." One by one, they used the maintenance flow, emerging in a small brick outbuilding several blocks from the ministry. Sirius, still weak from years in Azkaban but running on adrenaline, focused carefully before operating them to a grim-looking square in London. Number 12 Grimmauld Place materialized between two Muggle homes as they approached, its magic recognizing the Black family heir despite the years of absence. The building looked neglected, windows grimy, steps cracked, an air of decay hanging about it. "Home sweet home," Sirius muttered sarcastically as they approached. The door recognized him, opening reluctantly with an ominous creak. The interior was worse than the exterior, dusty, dark, and filled with a sense of malevolent neglect. "Charming," Tonks commented, tripping over an umbrella stand shaped like a troll's leg. "Really homey." "Master returns," came a croaking voice from the shadows. A house elf appeared, ancient and stooped, his expression a mixture of shock and displeasure. "With blood traders and a goblin. Mistress will be most displeased." "Hello, creature," Sirius said coolly. "Still here, I see." "Creature serves the noble house of Black," the elf replied sullenly. "Even when its heir disgraces the family name." Harry stepped forward before Sirius could respond angrily. "Hello, creature. I'm Harry Potter, Sirius's godson." The elf's bloodshot eyes widened slightly. "The Potter boy? The one who vanquished the Dark Lord?" "That's me," Harry confirmed. "We need to use this house as a safe place for a while. Can you help us make it comfortable?" Creature looked conflicted, glancing between Harry and Sirius. Half-Blood asks Creature nicely. Strange times, strange times. We particularly need a secure room for a ritual tonight," Harry continued. "Something with strong magical containment properties." At this, the elf's expression sharpened with interest. "Ritual magic? Old magic?" "Very old," Silverax confirmed. "Soul magic?" Creature's demeanor changed subtly. "The Black family has a ritual chamber below. Protected, contained. Old Master Arcturus used it for the most powerful workings." "That might be perfect," Harry said. "Could you show us?" The elf hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Creature will show the Potter boy. Follow." As the elf shuffled away, Sirius raised an eyebrow at Harry. "Since when do you speak house elf?" "Since I learned that respect works better than demands," Harry replied with a small smile. "Something else I discovered this past year." Sirius studied him thoughtfully. "You're not what I expected, Harry. Not that it's bad, just different," Harry finished for him. "I know. The anchors changed me in ways I'm still figuring out." "You're still James and Lily's son," Sirius said firmly. "That's what matters to me." The simple acceptance in those words warmed Harry more than anything else could have. They followed Creature down several flights of stairs, past mounted house elf heads, which Tonks regarded with horror, and sinister-looking artifacts, until they reached what appeared to be a blank stone wall in the lowest basement. Black family ritual chamber, creature announced, placing his gnarled hand on the wall. It melted away, revealing a circular room with a domed ceiling. Ancient runes covered the walls and floor in concentric patterns. Despite years of disuse, the chamber hummed with latent magical energy. Silveraxe walked the perimeter, examining the runes with professional interest. Impressive work. 4th century designs, if I'm not mistaken. Heavily focused on containment and purification. Will it work for tonight's ritual? Harry asked. The goblin nodded slowly. With some modifications, yes. These containment runes are actually superior to what we'd planned to use. They'll help control any manifestations that might emerge during the extraction. Manifestations? Sirius asked sharply. What exactly is this ritual going to do? Harry and Silveraxe exchanged glances. They hadn't had time to fully brief Sirius on the details of the final extraction. The remaining 4 anchors are the deepest and most powerful, Harry explained. 2 from Dumbledore, 2 from Voldemort. Because they're so integrated with my core magic, removing them could potentially allow fragments of their consciousness to temporarily manifest. You mean we might actually face aspects of Dumbledore and Voldemort in this room? Sirius asked incredulously. Not their full selves, Silveraxe clarified. More like echoes. Fragments with enough consciousness to resist extraction. The chamber's containment properties will prevent them from escaping or causing external damage. That sounds incredibly dangerous, Tonks said worriedly. It is, Harry admitted. But less dangerous than leaving them inside me. As long as they remain, I'm never truly free. Sirius studied him for a long moment, then nodded decisively. Then we remove them. Tonight. But I'm staying with you through the whole thing. Sirius, the risk is mine to take, he interrupted firmly. I've already lost 7 years with you, Harry. I'm not losing another minute if I can help it. The determination in his godfather's eyes settled something in Harry's heart. This was what family meant, standing together even in danger. We need to contact Ragnarok and the ritual team, Silveraxe said practically. Let them know the change of location. I'll help Creature prepare the house, Tonks offered. Basic security upgrades, cleaning the essential areas. As they dispersed to their tasks, Harry remained in the ritual chamber, studying the ancient runes. So much history here, generations of black family magic woven into the very stones. Dark magic, yes, but powerful. And tonight, that power would help free him completely from the 2 wizards who had tried to shape him to their purposes. Sirius joined him after a while, sitting beside him on the stone floor. For a few minutes, they simply existed together in comfortable silence. Your parents would be proud of you, Sirius said finally. Standing up to Dumbledore like that in the Wizengamot. James would have cheered out loud. Harry smiled at the thought. And my mum? Lily would have been analyzing every word, planning 12 steps ahead. Sirius chuckled. She was brilliant that way, always thinking, always questioning. Never took anyone's authority as absolute. Even Dumbledore's. Especially Dumbledore's, Sirius confirmed. She respected his power and knowledge, but she was one of the few who would challenge him directly when she thought he was wrong. Harry absorbed this, treasuring these glimpses of his parents as real people rather than idealized memories. Did they know? He asked quietly. About the prophecy? Sirius's expression grew somber. Parts of it. Dumbledore told them enough to convince them to go into hiding, but I doubt he shared everything. That wasn't his way. No, Harry agreed. He preferred keeping people in the dark, giving them just enough information to do what he wanted. Harry, Sirius said carefully, about tonight, are you sure you're ready? There's no rush. We could take more time to prepare, research, I've been preparing for a year, Harry replied. And every day these anchors remain is another day they have influence over me. I need to be free of them, Sirius. Completely free. His godfather nodded slowly. I understand. Just, be careful. I've only just found you. I couldn't bear to lose you. You won't, Harry promised. I've come too far to fail now. By evening, Grimmauld Place had transformed from abandoned mansion to functional headquarters. Creature, motivated by Harry's respectful treatment and genuine interest in Black family history, had cleaned essential areas with surprising efficiency. Tonks and Silver Axe had reinforced the building's already formidable wards, while Sirius reconnected the floor with limited access permissions. The ritual team arrived at 8 o'clock, Ragnarok himself, along with 3 Goblin Runemasters and Bathilda Bagshot, whose expertise in historical magic made her invaluable for understanding the Black family ritual chamber. Remarkable preservation, Bagshot commented, examining the chamber with scholarly enthusiasm. The Blacks were notorious for their dark magic, but their runic craftsmanship was unparalleled. Will it affect the ritual? Harry asked as the team prepared the space, modifying certain runes and adding new ones to the existing patterns. Actually, it improves our chances, the elderly historian replied. These containment runes were designed specifically for soul magic, likely for Horcrux creation originally, but the principles apply to extraction as well. Harry tried not to think about generations of Blacks potentially creating Horcruxes in this very chamber. Focus on the present, he reminded himself. On freedom. By 10 o'clock, preparations were complete. The chamber glowed with activated runes, goblin symbols interwoven with the ancient Black family magic to create a unique hybrid system. At the center lay a raised stone dais where Harry would position himself for the ritual. It's time, Ragnarok announced. Everyone not directly involved in the ritual should remain behind the outer containment circle. Sirius squeezed Harry's shoulder. I'll be right here. No matter what happens. Harry nodded gratefully, then moved to the central dais. He removed his outer robes, wearing only a simple ritual tunic that left his arms and feet bare for better magical conductivity. The 4 Goblin Runemasters took positions at cardinal points around him. Silver Axe approached with a silver bowl containing a potion that smelled of herbs and metal. This will help separate the anchors from your core magic, he explained. Drink it all. The potion tasted better than it smelled, cool and clarifying, like drinking liquid starlight. Harry felt it spread through his system, highlighting the foreign elements within him. For the first time, he could actually sense the anchors directly, 2 cool blue presences and 2 burning red ones, all embedded deep in his magical core. I can feel them, he murmured. So clearly now. That's the first step, Silver Axe said approvingly. Now lie back. The ritual will begin momentarily. Harry reclined on the stone dais, which was surprisingly comfortable, enchanted to adjust to his body. Above him, the chamber's domed ceiling seemed to ripple and shift, revealing what looked like stars beyond. The chanting began, different from previous rituals. Where those had focused on careful extraction, this invoked more aggressive magic. The goblins weren't just removing the anchors, they were forcibly expelling them. The runes ignited in sequence, power flowing from one to the next until the entire chamber pulsed with magical energy. Harry felt the anchors stir within him, responding to the ritual's pressure. Pain bloomed in his scar, sharper than in previous extractions. They're resisting, he gasped. As expected, Ragnarok responded, his voice steady despite the strain of channeling so much magic. The ritual continues. Brace yourself, Mr. Potter. The chanting intensified, the goblin voices weaving complex harmonies that seemed to resonate with the very stones of the chamber. Harry felt the anchors being pulled toward his scar, the traditional exit point, but they fought every inch of the way. Inside his mind, he began to hear voices, Dumbledore's gentle but firm tones overlapping with Voldemort's higher, colder cadence. This is necessary, Harry, for the greater good, your destiny. Fight them, boy, use my power, we are connected eternally. Harry gritted his teeth, focusing on his own thoughts. Get out of my head. Both of you. The pain peaked suddenly, his scar splitting open, not with blood but with light, blue and red intermingled. The light coalesced above him, separating into two distinct masses that began to take shape. To his left formed a glowing blue figure, tall, bearded, with half-moon spectacles and flowing robes. Not solid, but distinctly Dumbledore in appearance. To his right, a red figure emerged, skeletal, snake-like, with burning crimson eyes. Containment holding, one of the runemasters reported tensely. Manifestations at 30% cohesion. The Dumbledore figure spoke first, its voice echoing oddly as if coming from a great distance. Harry, my boy. This is a grave mistake. Without my guidance, you cannot fulfill the prophecy. Your guidance. Harry managed, sitting up despite the pain still radiating from his scar. You mean your control? I have only ever sought to protect you, the manifestation insisted. To prepare you for your inevitable confrontation with Voldemort. Lies, hissed the Voldemort figure. He prepared you for sacrifice, not victory. I offer power instead, the power to defy destiny. I don't want either of your offers, Harry said firmly, standing now on the dais despite Silverac's concerned glance. I choose my own path. There is no choice, the Dumbledore figure said sadly. The prophecy binds you. Neither can live while the other survives. Your destinies are intertwined. Then I'll face that destiny on my terms, Harry replied. Not yours. The manifestations were growing more solid, drawing power from the ritual energies and their connection to Harry. The Voldemort figure raised a hand experimentally, testing its capabilities. Containment at maximum, warned the runemaster. Manifestations approaching 40% cohesion. You need me, Harry, the Dumbledore figure insisted. The knowledge I've given you is incomplete without guidance. You cannot understand the full implications. I understand enough, Harry interrupted. You marked me as a sacrifice. You planned my entire life around dying at the right moment. For the greater good, the manifestation acknowledged without shame. One life against thousands. It was the only way. There's always another way, Harry countered. You just couldn't see it because you were too committed to your own plan. The Voldemort figure laughed, a high, cold sound that raised goosebumps on everyone present. So self-righteous, Dumbledore, even as a fragment. At least I am honest about my intentions. And what are those intentions? Harry asked, turning to the red figure. Survival, it replied simply. Power. I placed my anchors to ensure a connection, to influence you, certainly, but also to learn from you. To understand how you survived. Neither of you considered that I might want to be simply Harry, he said quietly. Not a weapon, not a vessel, not a Horcrux, just myself. There is no, simply Harry, the Dumbledore figure said with genuine compassion. You have always been extraordinary. I merely shaped that potential. Without permission, Harry pointed out. Without consent. You were a child. Children cannot consent to what they cannot understand. Yet here I stand, understanding far more than you intended, Harry replied. Because your anchors gave me your knowledge without your control. The manifestations were moving now, testing the limits of their containment. The runes flared brightly wherever they approached the boundaries. We need to complete the extraction, Ragnarok warned. The manifestations are growing too strong. Harry nodded, returning to the center of the dais. Then let's finish this. The chanting resumed, focused now on severing the final connections between Harry and the anchors. He felt each one, painful, like cutting nerve endings, but also liberating. With each severed tie, the manifestations flickered slightly. You'll fail without me, the Voldemort figure hissed, reaching toward Harry despite the containment barriers. My knowledge, my power, you've only glimpsed what I could offer. And what's the price? Harry asked, already knowing the answer. Merely your allegiance. Your recognition of our connection. Harry shook his head. Too high a price for too little gain. I have what I need from you already, understanding without corruption. He turned to the Dumbledore figure. The same goes for you. I value the knowledge your anchors provided, but not the strings attached to it. You speak of corruption, the blue manifestation said softly. Yet without moral guidance, knowledge becomes dangerous. Power becomes temptation. I have guidance, Harry replied, glancing toward where Sirius stood watching tensely. Just not yours. The ritual reached its crescendo, the chamber vibrating with magical energy. Harry felt the final connections snapping one by one, painful but clean, like pulling stitches from healed wounds. It's working, Silverax confirmed. The anchors are fully detached. The manifestations knew it too. They grew more desperate, throwing themselves against the containment barriers. The Voldemort figure actually managed to crack one of the outer runes, causing a surge of power that made the goblin stagger. We need to bind them permanently, Ragnarok ordered. Before they break containment. How? Harry asked, feeling strangely calm despite the chaos around him. You must reject them, Silverax explained quickly. Not just physically but magically. Assert your will over the fragments that were once part of you. Harry understood instantly. This was the final test, not just removing the anchors but actively banishing the influence they represented. He stepped forward, facing the manifestations directly. You have no claim on me, he said clearly, directing his words to both figures. Not my mind, not my magic, not my future. I reject your plans, your manipulations, your very presence in my life. He raised his hands, channeling magic in a way that felt completely natural, neither Dumbledore's technique nor Voldemort's, but something uniquely his own. Golden light spread from his palms, engulfing first the red manifestation, then the blue. Impossible, the Dumbledore figure whispered as the light surrounded it. The anchors were too deeply integrated. You never understood, did you? Harry replied. By giving me your knowledge, you gave me the tools to break free from your control. The manifestations fought the golden light, but it was inexorable, containing, compressing, reducing them to their essential nature, mere fragments, not true consciousness. As the light constricted, they lost definition, becoming simple orbs of blue and red energy. Crystals ready, Ragnarok announced. 2 goblin-crafted containment crystals rose from the floor, positioned beneath the floating orbs. With a final surge of magic, Harry pushed the fragments downward, into their respective prisons. The crystals sealed instantly, glowing briefly before settling into dormant states. Harry stumbled, suddenly exhausted. Sirius broke protocol, rushing past the containment circle to catch him before he fell. I've got you, his godfather murmured. It's over now. You did it. Harry leaned against him, feeling lighter than he had in years, perhaps ever. His mind was quiet, containing only his own thoughts. His magic flowed freely, unobstructed by foreign anchors. Scan him, Silverax directed one of the runemasters. A complex diagnostic spell enveloped Harry briefly, then dissipated. The runemaster checked the results and nodded in satisfaction. All anchors removed. No remnants detected. His core is stabilizing already, remarkably quickly, in fact. What about his scar? Sirius asked. The runemaster examined Harry's forehead closely. Healing. It will likely remain as a physical mark, but the magical signature is gone. It's just a scar now, nothing more. Relief washed through Harry in waves. Just a scar. After all these years, all the pain and strangeness and isolation, just a simple scar, with no hidden passengers. What happens to those? He asked weakly, indicating the containment crystals. They'll be destroyed, Ragnarok assured him. Through goblin fire, the only thing hot enough to eliminate soul fragments permanently. Harry nodded, too tired to speak further. Sirius lifted him carefully, carrying him from the ritual chamber toward the stairs. Rest now, his godfather said gently. Everything else can wait until morning. As consciousness faded, Harry felt a peace he couldn't remember experiencing before. For the first time in his life, he was truly himself, not a reflection of Dumbledore's plans or Voldemort's corruption, but simply Harry Potter. Whatever came next, he would face it on his own terms. And that, he realized drowsily, was all he'd ever wanted. Sunlight filtered through dusty curtains when Harry finally awoke. For a moment, he lay still, taking inventory of his mind and magic. The hollow feeling he'd experienced after previous extractions was absent. Instead, he felt integrated, whole. His magic responded instantly to his awareness, flowing through him without the resistance he'd grown accustomed to. He raised a hand experimentally, conjuring a small ball of light without a wand or incantation. It formed perfectly, hovering above his palm with steady illumination. "Impressive," came Sirius's voice from the doorway. James could do wandless magic too, though not until much later. Harry sat up, dispelling the light. "Good morning." "Afternoon, actually," Sirius corrected with a smile. "You've been asleep for nearly 18 hours. Hungry?" As if on cue, Harry's stomach growled loudly. "Starving." "Creatures actually prepared something edible. Seems he's decided you're acceptable, even if I'm still a blood traitor." Sirius helped Harry to his feet. "How do you feel?" Harry considered the question carefully. "Different. Clearer. Like I've been seeing everything through a filter until now." "The scans show your magic has actually increased in strength," Sirius said as they descended toward the kitchen. "Silverax thinks the anchors were suppressing your natural growth all these years." The kitchen had been transformed from the gloomy space Harry vaguely remembered from the previous night. Now it was clean, bright with magical lights, and filled with delicious smells. Around the long table sat their allies, Silverax and Ragnarok, Tonks and her parents, Bathilda Bagshot, and a few others Harry recognized from the Goblin Enclave. "The conquering hero awakens," Tonks called cheerfully, her hair cycling through celebratory colors. "How's the patient?" asked Andromeda Tonks, her resemblance to Bellatrix striking but softened by warm eyes and a genuine smile. "Hungry," Harry admitted, sliding into an empty chair as Creature appeared with a plate piled high with breakfast foods. "Young master must eat," the elf muttered, still gruff but with an unmistakable note of approval. "Ritual magic requires strength." As Harry ate, the others brought him up to speed on developments. The Ministry was in an uproar following the Death Eater attack, with Fudge facing serious questions about security failures. Dumbledore had returned to Hogwarts, publicly expressing grave concerns about Harry's well-being while privately mobilizing the Order to search for him. "And the Daily Prophet has been having a field day," Ted Tonks added, sliding the newspaper toward Harry. 3 different editions since yesterday." Harry glanced at the headlines, which ranged from sensational, "Boy Who Lived Accuses Dumbledore of Dark Magic," to speculative, "Soul Anchors, Protection or Control," to outright bizarre, "Harry Potter's Magical Growth Spurt, Normal Development or Goblin Enhancement." "At least they're asking questions," he observed, pushing the paper aside. "What about Voldemort's followers? Any leads on how they knew about the Wisengamot session?" "Nothing concrete," Ragnarok replied. But Bellatrix Lestrange was heard shouting about the Dark Lord's call during the attack. Some believe Voldemort himself may have orchestrated it from whatever hiding place he currently occupies. The thought sent a chill through Harry despite the warm kitchen. Without the anchors connecting them, he could no longer sense Voldemort's presence or activities, a blessing in many ways, but also the loss of an early warning system. "What happens now?" he asked, looking around the table. "That," Sirius said, "is entirely up to you, Harry. For the first time, you're truly free to choose your own path." The simple statement hit Harry with unexpected force. His entire life had been shaped by others' plans, Dumbledore's careful manipulations, Voldemort's violent intrusions, even the Goblin's protective measures. Now, with the anchors gone and a proper guardian at his side, he faced genuine choice. "I want to learn," he said finally. Not just magic, but everything, politics, history, different magical traditions. I want to understand this world properly, not just through Dumbledore's or Voldemort's perspectives. A worthy goal, Bathilda approved. And one I'd be honored to assist with, at least regarding magical history. We can provide tutors in various disciplines, Ragnarok offered. Though you may wish to establish a more permanent residence than our enclave. This house, Sirius suggested, though without enthusiasm. With serious cleaning and decursing, it could be made properly habitable. The protections are already exceptional. And we can come and go to help with your education, Andromeda added. I'd be happy to teach healing magic, and Ted knows Muggle subjects if you're interested in continuing that education as well. Harry felt overwhelmed by the support surrounding him. People willing to help not because of prophecies or schemes, but simply because they believed in his right to grow and learn on his own terms. Thank you, he said sincerely. All of you. For everything you've done. There's something else to consider, Silverax said, his expression serious. The knowledge you gain from the anchors, especially regarding Voldemort's activities and plans. It represents a strategic advantage that shouldn't be wasted. You think I should share it with the Ministry? Harry asked. Not necessarily the Ministry, Silverax clarified. But using it systematically to counter Voldemort's eventual return would be prudent. Harry considered this. Through Voldemort's anchors, he'd gained detailed knowledge of Horcruxes, including the likelihood that more existed beyond the diary that had been part of Dumbledore's anchored memories. You're right, he agreed. We should start planning. Voldemort will return someday, the prophecy practically guarantees it. But this time, I'll be ready on my own terms, not Dumbledore's. That's my godson, Sirius said proudly. James and Lily would be cheering right now. The conversation turned to practical matters, establishing Harry's legal status with the Ministry, preparing for eventual attendance at Hogwarts, and creating a systematic approach to the knowledge he'd gained from the anchors. Late that afternoon, as the others discussed ward modifications for Grimmauld Place, Harry slipped away to the library, now mostly cleared of dangerous artifacts. He found a window seat overlooking the square, watching Muggle London go about its normal business. Sirius found him there some time later, joining him silently on the cushioned seat. Penny for your thoughts, his godfather asked eventually. I was just thinking about choices, Harry replied. For so long, I didn't have any. The Dursleys, then the anchors, my life was planned out without my input. And now? Now I have too many, Harry said with a small laugh. It's overwhelming, but in a good way. Sirius nodded understandingly. Freedom can be terrifying when you're not used to it. Trust me, I know something about that after Azkaban. How are you handling it? Harry asked, suddenly concerned for his godfather's well-being. Sirius had been so focused on Harry that his own recovery had hardly been discussed. One day at a time, Sirius admitted. The nightmares are challenging. But having a purpose helps. Taking care of you, rebuilding our lives, it gives me something to focus on beyond the memories. Harry leaned against his godfather's shoulder, feeling the simple comfort of family connection. We'll figure it out together, then. Both learning to be free at the same time. I'd like that, Sirius said softly. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky change colors as evening approached. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, Dumbledore's continued efforts to regain influence, the Ministry's inevitable interference, the looming shadow of Voldemort's eventual return. But tonight, Harry was content. For the first time in his life, his mind contained only his own thoughts, his magic answered only to his will, and his future stretched before him, unwritten, unprophesied, his own to determine. Two masters had tried to claim him, to shape him according to their designs. Both had left pieces of themselves inside him, hoping to influence his development. In the end, those pieces had given him the very knowledge and power he needed to break free. Harry Potter smiled as darkness fell over London. Whatever came next, he would face it as himself, not as anyone's weapon, vessel, or sacrifice, but as the person he chose to be. And in that choice lay true magic, more powerful than any anchor or prophecy could ever be. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.